Shirley, why are you giving MING an alibi? Was that a red herring for me, specifically, since I'm looking at MING? Like, I still think his presence is really sus, and again, I can't pinpoint exactly why that is. He's gonna have a pretty strong reaction when MING does finally, trip up and we learn something about something he's done. That's probably not very good, right? Now you've also blasted the divine statues to pieces. Oh my gosh, MING, you're not making your case any better, MING, how come you didn't hold on to Lord Windmaster earlier? Agreed. How come you didn't? We have MING with us. MING, swiftly charge MING. MING. Good evening, good time zone, and warm greetings to wherever you are in the world. This is Amelia, aka Spaced Out Puffin, and we're here to read Volume 4 of Heaven Officials Blessing. Finally. Yeah, and here she is, the star of the show. And we are going into Volume 4 with a lot of expectations. I mean, we have a whole new plot featuring Windmaster and their backstory, and a new very interesting monster/demon creature has been introduced to our story, the Reverend of the Empty Words, which is gonna be interesting. And also Shi Brothers' Heavenly Tribulation, which I'm sure is going to be relevant. And then well, but before then, we are on a mission with some of my favorite characters. Shirley is there, Windmaster is there, MING is there, whose beef I've been dying to figure out. Oh, and Sunlo is coming along. He's gonna be there, which I suppose is necessary if he's going to protect Shirley and make sure that he doesn't go through unnecessary bodily harm. And provide him with plenty of oxygen. Okay, but from jokes to slightly more serious observations, but still with a humorous undertone. This is the cover y'all have been hiding from your family and friends. Most of you probably don't bring this one out on the bus. For very normal and sensible reasons. Like way back when I started getting these books, I think someone said that they told their parents that Shirley was a girl. Which I find hilarious, but also, yeah, whatever helps you out. But since this is just such an inspiring cover, we should have a proper look at it. So let's start by pulling the postcard out from this stack of mine. It's beautiful. Oh no! Okay, the back is so cute, guys. So we've got Fox Swat-Jung and little stout Shirley in there. And they're practicing calligraphy. This is wonderful, I love this. And there we go, we're in the Volume 4 era officially. Just looking at the screen and realizing that every time I'm reading from now on, I mean, even if I'm reading and holding the book kind of like obscured, you're still going to be seeing this picture. I'm happy to provide this service. But yes, we're still going on with this kind of green-bluish note on this book. But, of course, the white and the red are they stand out so much on all these covers. I really like the contrast of it, but I'm still theorizing about where this could be, because these blue curtains kind of... Like my initial theory is that we have to sneak into heaven somehow, for some reason. And, yeah, this whole cover has been giving me, like, Palace of Lingwen vibes, so that's kind of my first bet, but this could be anywhere. Maybe even the Emperor's Palace. Though why we have to make out in there, very hard to say. And as per usual, I'm not reading the back of the book, just in case there's gonna be hints there to what is to come. I'm going in as blind as I can. I also want to show you guys my little bookmark. So I received this bookmark from my wonderful friend and deputy Luan in the mail, along with other goodies. I'll show you those as I go along. And it's got Fox Watchung and Little Stout Julian again, and they're so cute. I think they picked this up on a con. This one is from Shana, the geeky artist. So if you happen to know Shana, give them a big shout out. I really love their bookmark. And you know, the tassel is the same color as the curtains, right? Almost the same color anyway, so it just fits so well. This is gonna be my bookmark for this read. But before we're placing any bookmarks, let's have a look at the inside cover here. So all of these covers have had like an item here on the side that has been of some importance, such as Hua Chang's butterfly on the first one. And I know one of them has the red pearl. I think that was volume 3, and I can't remember what volume 2 had at this time. But here for volume 4, we have a piece of parchment, and I don't know, it just looks like it's kind of flying over here, but I know it's gotta be somehow crucial to the story, so we'll figure this out. This is maybe what they came here for. There's also a big piece of parchment featured on the back of the book, and here on the inside of the jacket. And we get the big, wonderful version of the cover inside here. I love the glossy pages. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Okay, we have a scene with Hualien, we've got Hua Chang in his form, and then we've got Julian with a little question mark. What are they even doing? He's doing something on that table, I can't tell what. But I love it so much because Julian has his hair up, and I think I'm weak for Julian wearing his hair in different styles than one we see him in usually. Like the prince ponytail. It's so cute, I love it so much. So beautiful. And they're under this beautiful flowering tree, and I love these doodles, these domestic little doodles that they usually have included inside the covers. So cool. So we got that, and we've got like a list of the chapters, not looking at them, not looking at the titles, but 350 something pages, 60 something pages it looks like. Let's check page count really quick without reading anything. Page count is 368, so this is shorter than volume 3. 368. Let me make a note of that. Yeah, and that is all I really have to say for now. I have already theorized a lot about this cover, and I'm looking forward to be holding it in my hands for very, very many long hours to come. But this is a channel where I do talk a lot about my theories and predictions, and before we can predict and talk about the story to come, we have to talk about the story where we are now. So let's bring back volume 3 for just a little bit while we talk about where we left off. Because we are in the middle of things. Like, the next chapter is going to be part 2 of the current chapter. That's how in the middle of things it gets. Like, short summary, the gang is trying to go to the capital in order to get wasted and party, so that they can lure out the Reverend of Empty Words, which is hunting down Shi Brothers apparently. But then, apparently, the Reverend of Empty Words changes the course of their teleportation array, with another one of its little curses. Supposedly, anyway. I have thoughts. To put it this way, we have reasons to be suspicious. So what predictions do I have other than... Well, let's talk about what we've learned. Because most excitingly, for me anyway, we have learned a lot about Shi XUAN and their backstory. As well as Shi Brothers' backstory. Honestly, the Shi Brothers' backstory. We learned that Shi XUAN was cursed as a baby following having his horoscope read by a wandering fortune teller. And we learned from Main Yancheng back in Arc 2 that that's not a good idea. Having your horoscope read, I mean. And the thing that has put a curse on him is a very, very powerful version of the Jinx monster, usually called the Venerable of Empty Words. This one is called the Reverend of Empty Words. Putting that one up here. And this whole situation forces his parents to do a little switcheroo, in which they send their second-born son away and then bring him back, dresses him up as a girl, and raises him as their daughter. I thought this was a very interesting in-story explanation for their attachment and confidence, as well as, sense of identity in their female form. And also, look at them. Like English dub Windmaster said it the best. Man or woman, I know I'm drop dead gorgeous. So this is all well and good until the Shi family starts to decline. And so Shi up and leaves with his many years younger brother, and then goes off and enters a mountain to cultivate, but goes back into town in order to eat and spend time with his brother every day. And well, the Shi brothers went through a lot. Losing their parents, a home, their stability, and then having the Reverend of Empty Words rediscover XUAN's location, which led to them spending their days basically living in fear of when it would strike. And then, after many years, finally escaping through Shi ascension, and then eventually Shi XUAN's own ascension. This gives a lot of context to Shi XUAN's dependency on his brother, who basically raised him from the age of 10 and on. And the psychological trauma of the situation explains a lot of the behavior that we've seen between them, to me anyway. Such as Shi obsession with status and might. Also even Shi comments about Shi XUAN's female form. Yes, the whole thing was kind of played off as a joke on Pei Ming's expense, but still. With the backstory we've now learned about, Shi intention could definitely be more of a, you don't need to hide anymore, we're above all that now. And, the both of them are quite uncomfortable with the fact that Shi XUAN is also treated as his wife by a lot of mortals. And knowing their backstory also explains Shi XUAN's behavior around Shi versus not around him to me. Because again, this relationship, following all the things that they've experienced together, it's probably a relationship with pitfalls and problems that we get to explore. And I doubt Shi XUAN's current attempt at being all grown up and taking care of their little big problem all by themselves, using their own resources. I doubt that's gonna go over well with Big Brother over there. And I think Shi blow up about all this is imminent. And I actually have some theories about this, also related to a certain Ghost King, YIII. Stay tuned for those. But you know what's also imminent? Shi third heavenly tribulation. And I have no doubt that the current plot and this tribulation will be happening, more or less concurrently. What we're doing now will impact the heavenly tribulation. At least that's the vibe I'm getting for where we're going next. But anyway, tribulation of the water god, the water tyrant. What could that be? Could it be something related to water, some sort of natural disaster, like stopping a river from flooding? Or like the one thing we know that Shillian did, fighting demons. Maybe even of the black water kind. Yeah, I'm not letting this go. By this I mean, I'm actually so happy to be bringing black water out of the corner because I finally have some theories that I feel hold more water, so to speak. Just gonna put the name tag over here for now because I'm still kind of hoping for this water god versus water ghost big, amazing, epic battle that I've been theorizing about, even though the water cover is no longer relevant, I suppose. But that's alright, we still have a couple of Blackwater mentions in the previous chapters that I read in Volume 3, so that warrants bringing them out of the banishment corner, I think. And also XUAN. Shi XUAN's baby name, XUAN, which also just happens to be the same XUAN as in Blackwater Demon XUAN. I checked. I had some help and ended up checking the Chinese characters, and they indeed have the same XUANs in their names. But that could still be coincidence. However, YIII knows someone who knows the Reverend of Empty Words. YIII also knows Blackwater sinking ships, which means all of these things are possibly connected. And that means, who knows? Yeah, seriously, there are just so many things that this could possibly mean that I don't really have all the threads yet, but I have a few things that I am pretty sure of. And the first thing is that I don't think that the Reverend of Empty Words and Blackwater's sinking ships are the same creature person. And that is, first of all, because we know that the Reverend of Empty Words is like dusty old, more than 1,000 years old. Like I joked about this last time, but only John Woo, as far as we know, is in the same age group as the Reverend of the Empty Words. So who knows, maybe they've had like old man tea about shit at some point. But that also leads me to wonder if maybe John Woo might actually know this creature's origin somehow. And if that's gonna play into this, if we're gonna need Sky Daddy's help with this, and if he's going to give us this help, you know? Depending on his own agenda at the time. Which we still don't know, so keeping an eye on you again, John Woo. Conversely, Blackwater sinking ships. At least that's a calamity. It's like, I don't know, Hua-Chang's age? Because Bai Wuxiang was the first of the calamities, and then we've heard like that Hua-Chang is super powerful, and heaven fears him and such, and Blackwater doesn't, I mean, he's renowned, but he doesn't have that much renown, you know? So I don't know, I feel like Blackwater is younger than Hua-Chang, but could also be the same age-ish. I do not know. Like, how often do we get a new Ghost King from Mount Tonglu? Because that was the thing, right? Ghost Kings came from Mount Tonglu. In which case, I'm going to make an educated guess and say that Blackwater is younger than Hua-Chang. So what do we learn about Blackwater in these previous chapters? Well, we know he kills people. And I mean, like, yeah, presumably people do drown whenever he sinks ships. But also it seems like he actually had people that he targeted. Or at least it's implied, because Hua-Chang targeted people in the scroll of confirmed kills. AKA this scroll that Shi Brothers commissioned from Ling Wen about the Reverend of Empty Words to try and figure out more about this creature and its history. Now Shi Qingxuan has it, and it's wildly inaccurate. The reason why we know so is because Hua-Chang has confirmed that some of those kills are his, and some of them from Blackwater sinking ships. And furthermore, Hua-Chang adds the information that the Reverend of Empty Words doesn't just go after a singular person, but also their entire families, which is exactly what happened to Shi Qingxuan's family, right? But also, I like it's been a while since I recorded, but while I've been inactive, I have been listening to my own reading of these chapters, and Hua-Chang says something that's really interesting, and that's thrown me onto a new kind of turn of thought, and has made me a little suspicious about Shi Brothers' intent here. That bundle of rags is nothing but a red herring meant to divert your attention. And if there's one thing I've learned from watching and reading TGCF, it's that when Hua-Chang speaks, we listen. Red herring? Someone doesn't want Shi Qingxuan to be snooping around the Reverend. And you know, Shi Brothers has a motive. He wants to protect Shi Qingxuan and keep them far, far away from the Reverend. Like, the vibe I'm getting from Shi Brothers is that he is extra careful about a lot of things, and this is one thing where he wouldn't skint. He would pull all the stops in order to protect Shi Qingxuan. He could, of course, have enlisted Ling Wen's help in all of this. And that is why this scroll is from the Ling Wen Palace. And the last theory is that Ling Wen is a lone actor in this. Shi Brothers knows nothing about the inaccuracy of the scroll. Because Ling Wen is the Reverend of... Yeah, okay, I'm just running circles around myself with all these theories, but I noticed this, and I think that YIII is onto something. I think that the scroll really was meant as a distraction, but now we have this additional information from YIII that helps us kind of narrow down a few things, and I think that's gonna help us out with figuring out more about the Reverend after all. I have really been paying attention to YII's words in these last chapters, which is how we know that the Reverend is certainly powerful. It's not like a typical little minion. And YIII knows a thing or two about little minions, eh? Right, MING? Yeah, let's talk about MING, who, by the way, is far funnier than I previously thought. I had a blast with him in the last chapter. So it is kind of sad that I'm just kind of sat here, poking at him, waiting for him to fuck up, waiting for him to snap. Like the whole teleportation array switch really has my brain just reeling, because they walked right into that room. Straight into it. YIII held the door open and they just strolled right in. And the Reverend is strong. Strong enough to hide its presence from Crimson Rainsword Flower? Like calamity level strong? And like also, they had already walked through the doors when the supposed curse was spoken. And I'm just saying, this is not a good look, MING. It is not a good look. Do I think MING is the Reverend? No, I don't actually think so either. But I do remember, again, how YIII knows someone who has seen the Reverend. And well, that could very well be Blackwater. That could also be MING. So my first theory here is that MING could be connected to the Reverend of Empty Words somehow. I don't know, like maybe another creature that he owes a debt to or something, because that's kind of like my thing here. I feel like he is in a hot mess all the time, and that's why he has this connection to YIII to begin with. I don't even know if their beef is secret anymore. I feel like we kind of know-ish what is happening here. We'll have to see though. What I do know is YIII is really hostile against him. So the second theory is that the Reverend is not actually here right now. This could all be MING's doing. But why? Like the only way that makes sense is if MING is kind of working for the Reverend, so he was the one who did this thing for... Yeah, I don't really like this sort of theorizing, because I'm just very suspicious of MING, and I'm waiting for him to do something suspicious, but I don't actually know when the suspicious things are going to happen, you know? Like, I have this terrible hunch, and I hope that the next couple of chapters are going to provide me with some answers. Please tell me why I have this hunch. I'm also insanely worried about Shi Qingquan's death flag. I say, smiling, because this is so interesting. I can't believe they've done this. The stakes are beginning to rise, and I love it. But furthermore, after 3 volumes of reading TGCF, I'm starting to realize that Windmaster is by far one of the more idealistic characters in this series. Even more so than Julian at times. Like, they're made of justice, spice, and everything nice. And like I theorized after we'd first kind of like met them and gotten to know them a little bit, I think they're about to meet their own justice in the door. Because what do you do when your best friend is involved in some stuff, I guess. fucking MING, guys, it all comes back to MING. So to summarize, everything over here is our plot right now. I think Blackwater will be involved. I think Sherwood will be involved. I think MING is definitely involved. Lingwan, maybe. And Shi Qingquan might just die. Sherwood's tribulation? I think it's gonna fail. I don't know why I think so, but right now I'm gonna make my bet. I mean, it's a 50-50, right? He's gonna fail. YIII, bring me luck. Okay, so what else do I have to talk about? I suppose Yanzhen. The name of Jun Woo's other strange little sword. And again, is this another gun in the gun shop? Or rather, a sword in Jun Woo's armory. Which reminds me, I have a challenge. My dear Arya won the most recent bet that we had going on in my Discord server. So she devised this little challenge to me, which reads as follows. You are an anomaly among your kind, the Venerable of cheeky words. The only way you can feed is by your prey becoming genuinely flustered due to your predictions. You are really hungry and could eat several 3-course meals. Alas, after a long time in seclusion, the first 3 beings anywhere near you are Zhen Wu, General Ming Wang, and General XUAN. So what 3 predictions would you give each of them in order to feed, assuming you are sneaky enough to evade any attacks? And this gave me like I had to think about this for like several days. Because I am a starving Venerable of cheeky words, and this is a hard hunt. These are like top level creatures. How do you get any of them flustered? So I gave it a bit of a think, and finally I came up with a few scenarios. So let's transform into the Venerable of cheeky words, and let's listen to what I'd say to fluster these 3 heavenly officials. Hey, Sky Daddy, hope you have a pregnancy testing sword in that armory of yours, cause Crimson Rain is about to make you a Sky Granddaddy. Oh, that's Hey General XUAN. In some time you will find out the truth behind all those poems. And let's just say, the truth will keep you up at night. Time for dessert. Hey General Ming Guang, I guess I will starve tonight. Yeah, I honestly have no idea what I'd tell Pei Ming to fluster him. I don't think he can be flustered, honestly. Like, maybe I could make him mad if I said something about Pei Shaw and Banyue, but I don't think I could fluster him, is my issue. I've kept running into a wall. I don't think I could make it. Pei Ming, you have bested me. I am going to starve. So sorry to say, but I failed your challenge, Arya. I hope you enjoyed the 2 first courses of that meal, because that was pretty tasty. I also have a cooking challenge coming up, so once I have a weekend to myself and some time, I will also get onto that challenge. Who knows, maybe one of these videos will be like a mukbang. Like I mentioned earlier, between the last video and this one, I did receive a package from the lovely Luan, my friend, my moderator, and my junior official over at the server. And Luan has been around cons in Europe throughout this last year, which has been great for me because they were generous enough to send me so many cute things. And I want to show you guys some of them because they're amazing. And they kind of fit with where we are going in the story right now. Well, first of all, this gorgeous print of Sanlang and Shilian, which is just... I love this scene. The ox cart scene is iconic. You love the ox cart scene. Everyone loves the ox cart scene. Come on. And the artist's name is on the back here. It's Buchinel, I think. And this is such a beautiful print. I want this like framed and on my walls. And from the same artist, this absolutely gorgeous Windmaster and Earthmaster prints in their female forms. And I absolutely love this art as well. And I just thought that it's kind of fitting for what we're at right now. These 4 characters are the ones that are appearing in the next, chapter, next arc. So I wanted to show these off. And of course, because I am a Hualien simp, Luan also sent me gorgeous Hualien merch. Like this cute little keychain. And this standee that is sitting on top of my computer from now on to motivate me. Look at them, they're so cute. He looks so happy. I can't stand this, they're so gorgeous. And there was also like a bunch of ORV and alien stage things that I've been appreciating and putting around my apartment. And I'll show some other things to you guys later and maybe even read parts of Luan's letter. I already opened the package in front of Luan earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I think. So they already got to see my reaction, but these things are so beautiful and I've been appreciating them so much. And again, I'll be appreciating this bookmark every time I read this book. And now the last thing on my to-do list before we can jump into volume 4 is dimensions on my coffee board, which currently looks like this. And will look slightly different in just a moment because I have a handful of very generous Christmas gifts from over the holiday season, as well as greetings from all over the world. So let's get to it. First of all, a big greeting to the wonderful Gabby who found my channel and has been enjoying these videos. Thank you so much for the wonderful donation, and I'm so happy to have brought some happiness into your life. I hope you'll be watching in 2026 as well. I have a bunch of hearts that need to go up on the board, and the first one is for Elida. Thank you so much for your donation. And this one here is for Misty. Thank you so much for coming back this month. The same goes for D Misfortunes. I'm getting you a pink heart this time. This red heart for DK Williams. Thank you so much for your donation. Another pink one here for Willow. This pink one is for Shady. Thank you so much for the lovely message. Another one for the wonderful San Lenai. And this last heart of today goes out to Maru. But we're not done yet, because we have some followers who have been following me for a while and who have been donating to me so regularly that it's time to give them a Temple Guardian. And the first one up is Mia Rose, who'll be receiving this wonderful little puppy. And Mia, as well as Muley, who's next up, they've been around for ages, like more or less since the first few months of this channel. And they've been supporting me ever since then, so I am super, super grateful and always so happy to see your names on my screen. And Muley, you're also getting a bigger name tag and this little cute cat butt to protect it. Trust me, this guardian is just very powerful, that's why he's run through the board, right? It's a butt of enthusiasm. And the last temple update for someone who's receiving a temple guardian is Kea, who's also getting this little butt. And Kea hasn't been here for as long as Mia or Muley, but they've also become a very familiar name to me, so thank you so much for all your generosity, Kea. I hope you enjoy your new little temple guardian, and I hope you'll enjoy seeing your name more visibly up on the board now. But I do have a couple of more people that I need to thank. And first one up is Wigra. Thank you so much for all your generosity and for the wonderful Christmas gift. I'll make sure to put it all to good use. So for your generosity, I made sure to get you a maple leaf, very Sandlong adjacent, to go with your name tag. Thank you again for the support, and I really hope that you'll be watching these videos in 2026 and that they will give you some bit of happiness, just peace of mind, whatever, a lot of enjoyment. I really genuinely hope that you'll enjoy these videos. And with that same sentiment, I want to present this lovely little fox, which goes to, you might have guessed it, Dark Yoko Kitsune, who deserves a little kitsune to go with their name tag, which is right up here. Dark has also been following this channel for so long. It's a name I've become so familiar with. And also, I know Dark has sent me something in the mail that finally, apparently, left the US, so I'll be anticipating the arrival of that package any day now. And that was it for the updates for the Temple of Corkboards this time. And as you can see, I am still working on squeezing in names on this board, and I hope that you guys can see slightly clearly, like your names up here. But even if you can't, I can, and I see them every day when I walk past this little corkboard. And again, words can't express how grateful I am to you guys, how many things you guys have made possible through your generosity. Just the fact that I'm sitting where I'm sitting right now, doing this recording as smoothly as I am, is all down to you guys, so thank you so much. And if you would like to join and become a follower at the Temple of Corkboards, the links will be down in the description below. And with all that out of the way, I am ready to start it, I guess. My read-through of Volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing. And while it's been a while, I have been trying to think about how to get through this volume a little more quickly, which, I mean, considering how it's already taken me a couple of weeks to get to it, well, I'm not doing so good, huh? But I have been thinking about how to read more before I post each video, so that I can make longer videos but also be more efficient in my progress. So considering how it's getting late already, like, I think I'm gonna try and implement this method I've been thinking about, where basically my big issue is that I never have time to sit down and record for the minimum 4 hours that I need in order to kind of make a video. Like, sometimes I even sit here for 6. And I've been thinking about how to get around that. So the current thing I kind of think I want to start doing is record an intro and my first part of the reading, like one afternoon, which is going to take me a couple of hours maybe, and then throughout the week, maybe I can read more, give some brief thoughts, and then at some point say, this seems like a good place to stop. This is where I'm going to start editing the video and getting it out to you guys. Because I don't think I'm comfortable doing live readings of this. Because like the easiest way to do this would have been to do live readings and just record and just go. And I don't think I'm ever gonna get there. Like I might occasionally do it, like I did it for the last chapter of Volume 1, and I really would love to do it for the finale of TGCF as well. And you know, maybe for some other significant chapters, we'll see. But my point is, I am thinking about how to get through these books a little more quickly without having to take an entire afternoon or wait for like the perfect day to do a recording, you know? Because some days I only really have a couple of hours, and other days maybe I'll have one, but that doesn't mean I don't want to read. So if I did something like that, that'd be fun. I might just scratch all of this if I end up not doing it this time around, but my plan for now is to start reading and then to continue reading tomorrow and then start editing this weekend. We'll see how it goes, won't we? But before we get that far, let's get ready to dive into Volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 52. 3 gods, 1 ghost, Reverend Nowhere in Sight, Part 2. And again, Reverend Nowhere in Sight. I am really wondering if I am a little right about that. Maybe this creature was not here at all. It darted in and tampered with the array when we left Puchi Shrine, XUAN wondered, then instantly dismissed his own theory. No, it couldn't have. That isn't possible, XUAN agreed, and so do I, XUAN, I agree. We had already opened the door, so even if it crept in to meddle afterward, we should have still arrived at our original destination. The array was already activated. Changing it wouldn't have done anything at that point. It only had a split second to interfere, which meant it happened in the moment after MING had finished drawing the array, when XUAN blew out the candles and Puchi Shrine fell into darkness. Oh. Really? However, that contradicted XUAN's own theory. But there were only the 4 of us in the shrine, XUAN said. There had been 3 heavenly officials and 1 ghost king in tiny Puchi Shrine. Wouldn't they have noticed if there was anyone or anything extra? So the author is now asking all the questions I've been asking, so I guess I was asking the right questions, because they're being answered apparently. And if someone among them had meddled in the darkness, who was the most likely culprit? XUAN couldn't help but steal a glance at Huachang. Although he stopped himself quite quickly, Huachang didn't miss it. He smiled. What's with that look? Personally, I think Lord Earthmaster is the more suspicious one here. Don't you agree? And so do I. I agree so much, Huachang. When Huachang speaks, we listen. Ningyi's eyes also swept over. Rather than worrying about who meddled after the fact, consider whether the array he drew was wrong from the start, Huachang pointed out. MING neither refuted nor acknowledged the accusation, but XUAN couldn't let this line of questioning continue. Huachang, you stop right there, alright? I know the 2 of you quarreled in the past, but Mingxiong really isn't like that. I dragged him on this expedition at the last minute to help me, so he has no reason to meddle. Well, I mean, maybe he predicted that you would come drag him along. You usually do, don't you? I mean, he got dragged in on the last one. I don't know, XUAN. I'm just saying, when Huachang speaks. One doesn't always need a reason to do something, Huachang said. Lord Windmaster, you're very suspicious too. Oh my god, what do you mean? Huh? XUAN hadn't expected the tables to turn on him, and he pointed at himself. Who? Me? It's common for a wolf to cry wolf to shift the blame, Huachang said. Why exactly are you here? If you and your esteemed brother are genuinely scared of the Reverend of Empty Words, why were those raggedy scrolls so sloppily cobbled together? It's not a stretch of the imagination to think that the two of you schemed to intentionally lead us here. Well, I think the part about his brother might be right in that regard, YIII. Not sure I'm following on the XUAN part. Oh my god, is this a thing? Is there something here? Oh my god. YIII, stop making me suspicious of my good friend XUAN. It was easy to tell from his expression that he was being cheeky and sprouting nonsense. Okay, so maybe he was joking about that part, but he'd made such a good point that anyone was now worth considering as a suspect. Even XUAN was almost persuaded. Am I that ridiculous? YIII chuckled. The same logic applies to me. I'm not that ridiculous either. He would strike back with whatever others used to strike him, but XUAN was still busy mulling over the evidence, so he waved dismissively. All right, everyone stop. Nothing's clear yet, and we've already started doubting our own people. YIII laughed out loud and stopped talking. However, his attitude was more than obvious. He was purely there for fun. He wouldn't help, but he wouldn't cause mischief either. There was no point in expecting anything from him, but there was also no need to guard against him. Okay, so I think YIII is a bit of a joker in that regard, because we do know that he has intentions for being here, and the intentions is being around XUAN and making sure that something bad doesn't happen. Because again, he was super hostile against MING, right? So he doesn't want XUAN hanging around him. After thinking for a moment, XUAN said, Actually, there is another possibility. When Lord Earthmaster was drawing the array inside the shrine, someone else might have already been drawing a stronger array on the other side of the door. Oh, okay. I guess. XUAN, why are you giving MING an alibi? Was that a red herring for me, specifically, since I'm looking at MING like... XUAN had cast an isolation spell to seal Puchi Shrine and prevent Qirong from listening at the door and eavesdropping on their discussion, but that spell also made it hard for those on the inside to easily detect whether someone was tampering with things outside. When two similar spells collided, the more powerful one always won, and power wasn't solely based on the caster's abilities. It also depended on the materials used when spellcrafting. MING had used the aged cinnabar that XUAN picked up while collecting junk, stuff that had been discarded by his cultivation peers. If someone had used fresh blood to weave their own array, it would naturally be stronger. XUAN eagerly accepted that possibility. Outside the shrine, could it have been the green ghost? Can he do anything in his current state? I don't think so, XUAN said. He won't even dream of moving for the next week, but it wasn't just him outside the shrine, YIII said evenly, an implication hanging from his words. Who are you implicating, YIII? Who else would have been outside the shrine? In any case, let's not panic and let's not hurt our trust in each other, XUAN said. After pacing for a few steps, he added, But the monster's words were very strange. Why did it say that this place will become Lord Windmaster's nightmare, that he'll never wish to recall? Are we going to encounter something here? XUAN looked around and wrinkled his brows. Wait, this place looks like somewhere he knows. Before he finished, MING's expression suddenly turned sharp. His hand struck out in a flash, and the move was aimed at the back of XUAN's head. Lord Windmaster, look behind you! XUAN shouted. Thump. MING's hand chop cracked a large rectangular object in twain. The object had tumbled down right as XUAN passed under it. He leapt a few paces away, patting his heart. Whew, that was close. He looked down, and his pupils shrank. XUAN approached to take a look, and he tensed as well. The object was an establishment plaque, painted blue with golden characters that proudly spelled, Temple of Wind and Water, oh my lord. What is this horror story all of a sudden? Shattering the establishment plaque of a heavenly official's temple was an enormous taboo. Ming dropped his hand, his expression icy. Yeah, cause he just cut that in two, right? Symbolism. Shi Brothers stood in numb shock for a moment, but he then spirited away the broken pieces of the plaque with a sweep of his sleeve. Keep this a secret! Nobody speak of this, he said in a low voice. If my brother found out one of his plaques got smashed, he'd be totally furious. Shi turned to look around the room, and his tone was one of disbelief. This is a temple of wind and water? Indeed, the broken-down house they had been transported to was a temple of wind and water. The water master was the god of wealth. No one hates money, so the temples that worshipped him always had donations in abundance. To see one of his temples desecrated was as unimaginable as seeing a bundle of cash discarded on the street, exposed to the elements and ignored by passerby. Shi Brothers rushed back into the main hall. The interior of the temple was desolate from neglect and heavy with cobwebs and dust. He rummaged around, then finally pulled two wretched-looking divine statues from beneath a pile of rubbish. The divine statue of the Lady Windmaster was missing a leg and an arm, and the head of the divine statue of the Lord Watermaster was broken off altogether. The damage didn't look like it was from decay, but rather like someone had used something sharp to smash them, as if they were venting immeasurable hatred onto the statues. Oh. So like these mutilated statues of Lady Windmaster and Lord Watermaster. Interesting. The divine statues were extremely realistic too, almost lifelike. That's even more creepy. Wait, just a second. The divine statue of the Lady Windmaster was missing a leg and an arm, and the head of the divine statue of the Lord Watermaster was broken off altogether. Oh my god, is this what's gonna happen to them? Is this what's gonna happen? Was it not a Shi Brothers death flag, but a Shi Voodoo one? Oh my lord. Maybe, it could be. It was exceedingly unsettling to see them lying on the floor of this eerie old temple in such a state of abuse, one still wearing a curved smile on its face. Shi Brothers hugged a divine statue in each arm. What kind of hatred provoked this? He wondered aloud. What grudge? Even though Shi could sense a strong malicious intent from this scene, he replied gently to keep Shi Brothers calm. Lord Windmaster, steady yourself. As long as there are those who worship, there will also be those who desecrate. It's a common thing in the mortal world, no need to pay it any mind. The creature must have set this up intentionally to fan fear in your heart and allow it to absorb your spiritual power. MING, however, was more succinct in his response. Are you okay or not? If you can't handle this, leave. Shi Brothers brushed away some of the dust off the divine statues. He gritted his teeth, gripped his Windmaster fan, and leapt to his feet. I'm fine. Now I have to see what this creature's got up its sleeves. The four of them exited the run-down Temple of Wind and Water and walked around the little town. It was a very quiet, peaceful place, not bustling but modern and well-kept. Nothing out of the ordinary. Rather, the most peculiar thing there was the four of them. Their appearances, bearing, and dress were much too conspicuous to blend into a crowd of mortals. They ducked into a small alley for a costume change. Oh, that's so cute. Costume change. Shi was already dressed quite plainly, so he didn't need to change. However, the other three changed their looks thoroughly from head to toe. On one side of the alley, Shi Brothers voiced his critique of Ming's new getup. On the other side, YIII changed into a set of refreshing black robes. His long hair was tied up neatly and properly, which was a rare sight. Oh my gosh, I want to see this so badly. Complemented by a white jade hair accessory, the new style changed his languid appearance into something more spirited. He looked like an extraordinarily handsome and intelligent young disciple of some renowned Orthodox sect, as intensely eye-catching as always. An emperor simply couldn't look like a beggar, even if he forced him to dress like one. As he gazed at him, Shi couldn't help but remember the saying, "For men to impress, in black they must dress." Well, You only wear white though, Shilian, and you are still very impressive. He reflected on the profound truth of this statement while looking at YIII getting dressed up like this. Oh my lord. Is this a new form? Is that what we're saying? Or is it just like a new appearance? Is he wearing like his Sandang skin, but like looking, you know, more refined sort of? I don't know. Once his mind came down from the clouds, he looked at he looked at the Lord's Wind and Earth Masters and remembered something. Sandang, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Finally, please ask him everything he knows, Shilian whispered. YIII fixed his sleeves. What is it? Shilian clenched his hand into a fist and pressed the fist to his lips. He cleared his throat lightly and tried to sound extremely casual. What's the verbal password to your private communication array? To directly send a message to someone's private spiritual array, one had to have their verbal password. For example, to reach XUAN, one had to loudly recite in their mind the following doggerel. Lord Windmaster is divinely gifted, Lord Windmaster is funny and carefree, Lord Windmaster is kind and righteous, Lord Windmaster is aged sweet 16. Are you for real? This is cute. Okay, so you have to have like a password that people need to know in order to contact you. That makes sense. That's fun. Of course, other heavenly officials didn't set up verbal passwords that were so embarrassing to say. Most were much more normal. The upper court heavenly officials didn't freely give away their verbal passwords. They only provided them to close friends or associates. As the Supreme Ghost King, YIII would naturally have the same standards, but although he and Shilian might not have known each other for long, their relationship was fairly good. That is certainly one way to go about it, Shilian. Fairly good. Oh my god, this man. And it was a little strange that they hadn't exchanged passwords yet. They'd always seen each other face to face every time there was something to address, so exchanging passwords hadn't even seemed all that important. Shilian had never asked for the verbal password of any heavenly official. He'd call out in the general spiritual communication array whenever he needed assistance. If he wanted to speak to anyone privately, he would just ask them in there. Since this was the first time he was the one asking for someone's private communication, he didn't have much prior experience and was a bit worried he might be acting too forward. And now YIII's eyes were twinkling, but the man didn't respond. So Shilian felt a little awkward. Oh my god. What would YIII's password be? Sandang x Gaga equals love? Is it inconvenient? If it is, don't worry and don't mind me, he hurriedly added. I was just asking, nothing serious. There is something I wanted to discuss privately later, which is why I made such a presumptuous request. I can also figure out a way to speak to you in secret. It's not inconvenient, YIII interrupted him. I'm very glad. Oh my god. Shilian was taken aback. YIII sighed. I'm very glad Gaga finally asked me. You never brought it up, so I thought it would be inconvenient for you. That you didn't want to exchange passwords with anyone. That's why I never asked either. But, Gaga, now that you finally asked, how can you dismiss it as nothing serious? That marks the two first Gagas of Volume 4, by the way. I need to get my notes. Shilian let out a breath of relief and brightened up, grabbing YIII's hand. So we were both concerned about the same thing. It was my fault just now. My nothing serious was the unserious comment. I apologize to Sandang. So, your verbal password is... YIII's eyes shimmered and he leaned over. This is my verbal password. Gaga, listen closely. I'm only going to say it once. Then he whispered a phrase. Shilian's eyes widened once he heard it. What? Is that really it? Sandang, you didn't make a mistake. YIII was perfectly composed. Yep, that's it. If Gaga doesn't believe me, why not give it a try? Oh my god, are they not going to tell us what it is? Come on! Also, 2 more Gagas already. This volume 4 might be it, guys. As if Shilian did. Then doesn't that mean every time someone wants to talk to you, they have to mentally recite that phrase 3 times? Wouldn't that be extremely embarrassing. Huachang snickered. I said it to that phrase because I don't want anyone to talk to me. It lets them know how to back off. But if it's Gogo who wants to talk, I'm always free. Sholian felt a little incredulous. That's so mean. He hesitated. He wanted to initiate a private communication array, but he just couldn't bring himself to utter that password no matter how hard he tried. It was difficult, even in his head. Sholian pressed his hand to his face and twisted his head away, unable to make up his mind for the longest time. Seeing him fretting, Huachang finally had his fill of teasing. Alright, fine. If Gogo does not dare recite it, then I'll be the one to reach out to you. What's your verbal password? Sholian turned his head back. Just recite Tao Te Ching 1,000 times. Ellipsu replied. Is this something silly, like you're not actually supposed to recite it 1,000 times? You're just supposed to say it like that 3 times, I guess? Also, I can't believe the first Ellipsu reply from this book is from Huachang and not from Sholian. Wow. Huachang cocked an eyebrow. A moment later, Sholian heard his voice next to his ear. It's the phrase, just recite Tao Te Ching 1,000 times, right? The two stood facing each other, but their lips were closed and unspeaking. They were communicating with their eyes, whispering secrets to one another, using a voice no others could hear. Sholian replied using the private communication array as well. That's right, I can't believe you weren't fooled. Huachang blinked and continued to reply to his message. I almost was. How fun! Sholian's delight was apparent as he blinked back. This is so cute. This is so cute. It must be known that this verbal password was something Sholian spent serious effort coming up with when he first ascended 800 years ago. He used it because he thought it was funny, but not many other heavenly officials appreciated the joke even after he revealed the trick. They were more speechless than entertained. Mooching told him bluntly, Your Highness, your joke is bad. Forgive me if I can't laugh at it. On the other hand, Fengshen laughed to the point of rolling on the ground, screaming himself off. Oh my gosh. Fengshen, the purveyor of dad jokes? I can't. But he laughed at almost any jokes, no matter the qualities. Sending him into hysterics didn't make Sholian feel the least bit accomplished. Oh my god. I can't believe this. Fengshen likes jokes. This is so funny. However, if Huachang laughed, maybe it really was somewhat amusing after all. It is plenty amusing. I love it, Sholian. The original plan was to go to the best restaurant in the imperial capital to drink. But since they didn't make it to the imperial capital, it made no difference where they went. The group reserved a room at the biggest restaurant in town, and they lounged at the table bored out of their minds. When the waiter brought their drinks, Sholian inquired, May I ask where we are? Although it was a strange, blunt question, it was still the most direct and effective way to gather information. The waiter was amazed. Did our honored guests not come because of our reputation? This is the town of Pugu. Reputation? What reputation? The waiter gave a thumbs up. Our town's fire social. It's really famous around these parts. At this time every year, a number of outsiders come to watch the spectacle. Shi Brothers was curious. What's a fire social? And that comes with a footnote. Fire social, or yeahhh, are Chinese festivals. They were originally invented to drive away evil spirits and pray for abundance in the harvest, but evolved into celebrations of acrobatic feats. Okay. Celebratory festivities during folk holidays, Sholian explained. There will be busking, local plays, and so on. They're worth seeing. Oh my gosh, Sholian, have you gone to a fire festival? Fire social? Sometime before? Few times? Good business? They were similar to the Shengyuan heavenly ceremonial procession of Shanle back in the day. However, heavenly ceremonial processions were sponsored by the monarch and hosted by the state. Fire socials were the entertainment of commoners. But it's not a holiday today, Shi Brothers commented. The closest thing is that tomorrow is Hanlu, the official end of autumn. It doesn't have to be a holiday, Julian explained. Sometimes they're for commemorating a person or event. The common folks pick a special day to celebrate and have some fun. Just then, there was a huge commotion on the main street that stretched out below the restaurant. Move aside, move! Someone was shouting. Women and children, don't stand around, back away, the troops are coming! The four looked below, and what a sight they saw! Julian's eyes widened. A long procession paraded down the main street, and everyone in the line was painted with thick layers of vivid makeup and dressed in all sorts of bizarre costumes. There were also weapons embedded in each of their heads. Axes, butcher knives, iron tongs, scissors, implements, both sharp and dull, all were deeply buried in their skulls, piercing their brains. Some even had their eyeballs squeezed from their bleeding sockets and dangling down their cheeks. Some had been stabbed all the way through their foreheads, and the weapon jutted out the back of their heads in an exceedingly gory display. Every one of the paraders had tightly knitted brows and expressions scrunched in agony, and every face was covered in blood. And yet they continued to slowly march forward amidst the trumpeting music like a procession of phantoms. What is going on? Are these that's the end of the chapter, by the way. Are these people like just in theater makeup, or is this like actual ghosts walking through the town? This is so interesting. Let's see. I do have only a few pages in the next chapter. I think I'm going to do another one today. Then I think I'm going to throw in the towel for tonight and come back and read a little more tomorrow. But yeah, that was an interesting chapter because the chapter addresses a lot of the immediate questions I had after the first part of that chapter, and kind of like, I can't tell if I'm being red herringed right now, actually. Oh my lord. I think YIII threw out a few truths there, and then a few half-truths maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened there. But I can't help but think that we are supposed to be paying attention to what he is saying, and that we are supposed to be a little suspicious, because, you know, who knows MING better in a professional setting than YIII? Because XUAN knows MING as their friend and as a heavenly official. YIII has had MING in Ghost City for what did we agree? Like a decade at least, like 10 years at least. Where do I have that number from? I'm not sure if that is a real number or if I just made that up. But he was with YIII for a while, right? On his little undercover mission. So YIII would know him, or at least what he's willing to do, you know? So I think we should be paying attention to what YIII is saying. So this place, this town, Fugu. I need to write these names down, goodness. So the town of Fugu has this fire social, and that is like a festival to ward off evil, I suppose, but it's apparently famous, and now we have this huge procession coming through town with all these dead people looking pretty gory and grotesque. In this same town, you have a temple of water and wind that has been desecrated. Why? Why is the temple desecrated, and why are nobody paying attention to that? Like, what is up with this temple in this town? It seems so unusual that the temple was just left like that, if it is in the middle of this quite bustling area. Like, if there are people visiting, I feel like, you know, people who are visiting would be travelers, they could be merchants, they would be people who would want to visit a water god temple, right? A water master temple. So like, why nobody like mentioning this temple? Has it been hidden away? I mean, the plaque fell down, so I guess maybe it's not well marked anymore. There are a lot of things going on here. And the supposed curse from, supposedly, the Reverend of Empty Words is that this is supposed to be a place of Shi Brothers' nightmare, like Julian says, a place that he does not want to go back to. And he did, like, for a second there, it seemed like he was gonna... Yeah, when he was talking earlier, like, literally just before that plaque fell down, XUAN looked around and wrinkled his brows. Wait, this place looks like... What were you remembering, XUAN? What did this place look like? I would like to know. What happened here? Why do you know this place? Is this like one of the first temples? I am so confused. I need to know. I need to know what's going on. And we're gonna learn a little bit more. We're gonna read this next chapter, which is literally 10 pages, 9 pages really. So we're gonna read 9 more pages, and then I'm gonna turn in for tonight, and then it looks like, well, we're gonna read a few more pages tomorrow, that's for sure. So without further ado, settle in with me and let us read chapter 53. Gods and Ghosts Learn of the Bloody Fire Social. Which means this is our information chapter. Let's learn a thing or two about the fire social. A bloody one. Bloody fire social. XUAN sprang to his feet. XUAN stomped a foot down on the table, rolled up his sleeves as if ready to charge right down there. However, XUAN hastily held him back. It's nothing, don't worry. Lord Windmaster, please calm down. XUAN was quite alarmed. It is nothing? Their eyeballs got squeezed out. It's nothing, XUAN reiterated. What a rare opportunity. It's a bloody fire social. XUAN quickly removed his foot from the table. Bloody fire social? What's that? The two sat back down and XUAN explained. Different regions have different kinds of fire socials. A bloody fire social is a special type and extremely rare. I've only ever heard about them. I've never seen one in person. Since the performances are gruesome and unusual, and the makeup artistry is a trade secret, there are fewer and fewer of them every year. XUAN was astonished. Makeup? It's all fake? It's just too real. Here I thought this was the work of some sort of evil magic. What he said was no exaggeration, and XUAN sighed in awe as well. There are some extraordinarily talented people in the world. Not only did the performers in the parade have weapons deeply embedded in their skulls, some also had exposed innards and missing limbs, and they crawled on the ground, crying and howling. A few were carrying a large wooden frame, and a woman was hanged by her neck from one of the beams. 2 performers marched while dragging a woman by her legs. The woman's clothes had been torn to rags, and she left a long trail of blood as her face was scraped against the road. It was truly a realistic vision of hell. Even though it was a performance by humans, it was more horrifying than the ghosts of Ghost City. In comparison, Ghost City was practically an ordinary, bustling human market. Just how had all that makeup been done? XUAN knew of the tradition, but he'd also thought it was a procession of evil at first glance. There were quite a few women and children who tried to squeeze to the front of the crowd to watch out of curiosity, but they screamed in fright and backed away when they actually caught a glimpse. Your Highness, didn't you say that the point of fire socials was to celebrate? Who celebrates like this? XUAN commented. People are running scared, and those little girls are going to have nightmares. Do people really have fun watching performances like these? It really was hard to tell whether people enjoyed watching such performances, but in truth, slaughter and the sight of blood did get people excited. That's why people like horror movies, I guess. A rush of adrenaline would wash over them after the initial shock wore off, regardless of whether they felt true terror. It seemed there was another name for bloody fire socials in the local dialect, stabbing ecstasy. Great. That meant that when a person was violently stabbed to death, the heart in that moment would be filled with ecstasy. At least, that was how XUAN understood the phrase. The lust for slaughter ran deep in the hearts of humans. Of course, XUAN didn't voice these thoughts on the subject and only watched the spectacle intently for a while. In that impressive parade, there was a pale-faced man dressed in black, tall but skinny as a twig. Knife in hand, he struck at the head of one of the lavishly dressed performers and plunged the weapon deep into their skull. Next, he took out a long spear and used it to skewer the other performer and hoist them up to hang in the air. It was cruel and gruesome, almost like there was a real murder happening right before them. The crowd screamed in horror, although some also cheered. I'm guessing they're acting out a story, Shillian said. The black-clad man should be the protagonist, and the people he is killing should be the antagonists, the villains. The story tells of the defeat of evil and triumph of good. Having said that, something clicked in Shillian's mind. Lord Windmaster, watch closely. I am watching, XUAN said. No, I'm telling you to watch for the story, Shillian explained. Watch for the characters they're performing and the kind of story they're telling. There must be a reason why the Reverend of Empty Words brought you here and picked today of all days. Maybe it was so you'd watch this bloody fire social. The black-clad man's brow was deeply furrowed, and it looked like he was drowning in grave misery. As he single-handedly butchered hundreds of villains, he was also stabbed all over his body by all sorts of weapons. At the end, he dragged along a number of mangled corpses with white bandages around their throats, and then he lowered his head and moved no more. Surprisingly, the ending was one where everyone perished altogether. As one troop went past, another troop followed and performed the tale again. The parade cycled endlessly like this. Oh, and then we immediately get art of this performer, this man. So I should have paid more attention, because this is obviously like a key part of this, right? Oh my lord. Oof. So a tall, black-clad, skinny guy who is like the protagonist of the fire social, I guess, but he dies at the end, right? Could he be one of the victims of the Reverend then? Is that what we're trying to say? Like, is Reverend trying to be like, this is one of the people I killed because I couldn't get to you? Is that what he's saying? Like, I'm going to show you the suffering of all these people that died in your stead because you wouldn't feed me. This is what I've been up to. Is that kind of what we're doing here? Have you figured out what the story is about? Shillian asked. XUAN knitted his brows. No, I don't think I understand. He's doing nothing but killing people. Next to Shillian, YIII said leisurely, I imagine it's not a widely known story. Ask a local, see if it's about someone renowned from the area. Coincidentally, a waiter came by again to bring their orders. Honored guests, how's the show? Is it exciting? It's good, very exciting, Shillian responded. May I ask who the main character of this bloody fire social performance is? Sure enough, the waiter said. Oh, outsiders usually don't know and always have to ask. Our town Fugu fire social tells a tale that was once passed down through word of mouth alone, starring a character from local legend. Many centuries ago, there was a scholar with the surname YIII. Okay. We have a name. The black-clad man is Scholar YIII. Scholar with the surname YIII. Although this scholar YIII's family was very, very poor, he was a talented man. Since his youth, he was frighteningly intelligent and picked things up quickly and expertly. He was also widely known as a good son. There was really nothing bad to say about the guy in any respect. Unfortunately for him, he was also very unlucky. For him, nothing good ever lasted. Yeah, this sounds like a victim of the Reverend then. When he studied, he took the state exam. Even though he got the highest marks of them all, he offended the officials because he didn't give a gift to the examiner. They hid his test scrolls and exchanged them for blank ones, so for years he couldn't land a rank. When he got engaged, it was to his childhood friend. She was beautiful, like a flower, kind and compassionate, but both his fiancée and his little sister were forcibly taken by a wealthy household to serve as the lowest kind of concubines. Oh my god. All these women catching the strays. One wouldn't obey and was beaten to death. The other couldn't bear the shame and committed suicide. My God. Yeah, the whole family. This really fits the MO of that reverend, as far as we know. Scholar He went to seek justice, but those criminals accused him of committing adultery. He was locked up in jail and almost died of starvation there. His old ma and pa, both over 70 years old, kowtowed an entire night to beg for him to be shown mercy, but it was no use, and he rotted in jail for 2 years. His mom had known to take care of her and was long dead from illness when he finally got out. His dad had to labor for the family by himself and was hanging on by a thread. Scholar He was forced to abandon his scholarly pursuits and went into business instead, but he was too good at it and the other merchants ganged up to suppress him. All the money he made was fleeced away, and instead he drowned in debt. Ellipse, reply. What a terrible story, oh my lord. So, what do y'all think? The waiter sighed aloud. How could anyone be so unlucky? Shirlian cleared his throat quietly and agreed earnestly. Yeah, how could anyone but Shirlian? How could someone other than Shirlian be that unlucky? After that brief lamentation, the waiter was radiant with cheer as he continued the tale. And then, one fateful night, the guy went crazy, just completely mad. On the eve of Handlu, he grabbed a bunch of sharp tools and butchered everyone who had ever caused him harm. It was a bloody sight, I tell ya, flesh and gore flying everywhere. He hacked them all to tiny bits. Since everyone he killed had been bullying the town's citizens for ages, everyone cheered for him. So that's why the town commemorates him with a bloody fire social every year on the eve of Handlu. Pray Lord Scholar He watches over us and slaughters the wicked. Supposedly, evil had been defeated and good had triumphed, but it seemed like it still didn't end well. After the waiter left, Shirlian noticed that Shi XUAN seemed contemplative. Lord Windmaster, do you have any thoughts? Shirlian asked. Shi XUAN snapped out of it. Some baffling thoughts, but they're too confusing, so I can't exactly explain. What about you, Your Highness? I was wondering if that Scholar He could have been the previous incarnation of the Reverend of Empty Words. As they spoke, another troupe started performing the same story again. Shi XUAN looked over. Its previous incarnation? That's right, Shirlian said. Spirits and monsters that resemble humans are usually born from extreme cases of human resentment or obsession. For example, I heard of a monster in Dongying, which is the ancient Chinese term for the country of Japan. Oh, okay, Dongying is Japan. That was formed from the resentment of women. It's called the Bridge Princess. Some say it was born from the grief of women who waited for husbands who never returned, and others say that it was the madness of jealousy. If the Reverend of Empty Words was born of someone plagued by misfortune, one could say it was formed by that person's jealousy of another's good fortune, or their hatred of their own unfortunate fate. Investigate the local history. The timeline need to be verified, MING said. Right, we need to investigate, Shirlian said. To determine whether the story was true, they had to investigate when the Scholar He character first appeared in these tales. If he first appeared after the earliest records of the Reverend of Empty Words, then their theory didn't hold. Shi XUAN nodded. After a moment's thought, he continued. There's one small thing. I have a lot of small things in my head, but sure, go ahead, Shi XUAN, tell us. Suddenly, a voice laughed heartily from the crowd below. Just wait! Your closest family, your best friends, they'll all die a disgraceful death because of you! Is it seriously the Reverend? Shi XUAN's face immediately changed when he heard. He slapped the table and pushed off, leaping out the window of the restaurant and soaring through the air as light as a feather. The voice had come from the parading crowd. Lord Windmaster, come back! Shirlian yelled from the building's upper floor. Shi XUAN landed in the crowd of bloodied living dead. Come the hell out! He raged. Come out! However, the performers all bore wooden expressions. They ignored him completely and continued to march as though sleepwalking. XUAN was shoved around by the crowd as they flowed past him. He couldn't decide who among them was the most suspicious. He saw one that looked dubious, but just as he was about to strike with his Windmaster fan, he spotted another looked even more suspect. If his aim was not true, there would be a life on his hands. Huashang hadn't touched his vegetables, and he pushed them around on his plate to form a smiley face. Are you for real? Are you for real? XUAN is down there being like, stressed out and kind of sort of, reliving his little trauma. And then Huashang is just up there making smiley faces with his food. He never looked up once. It's pointless. It's too easy for a 1,000-year-old monster to hide its tracks. It would be simple for something inhuman to infiltrate this peculiar parade. And venerables of empty words already commonly took on human form. It would be child's play for the Reverend, who was the strongest of them all. A moment later, MING jumped down too and pulled XUAN out of the crowd. The group left the restaurant on the main street and walked toward the Temple of Wind and Water. XUAN gripped his Windmaster fan with a still trembling hand, but the trembling now seemed like it was from anger rather than his initial fear. He dangled a small wine jug from the restaurant from his other hand. After walking for a while, he tossed back the jug and took a drink, and the seething redness in his eyes finally faded away. Mingshong, maybe you shouldn't be my best friend for the time being. Wait till I've killed that thing first. I love the logic though. MING, however, replied without a trace of restraints. Who's your best friend? I've never been. Ellipse reply from XUAN. Oh my god. This is MING, stop. You're so mean. You're so mean. Maybe he really means it. Maybe he really doesn't like XUAN. XUAN took a moment to process, then his expression turned to outrage. Mingshong, that's too much. Don't turn your back on people so quickly when things get tough. They were off once again, bickering away. Sholian shook his head and fished out 2 small items from his sleeve. Here, Lord Windmaster, I think you'd best use these after all. XUAN took them. Earplugs? Sholian nodded. The idea might be silly, and it doesn't address the root problem, but it'll work for the time being. The creature can't do anything to you if you can't hear it. I made a new group communication array. A group chat. The verbal password is, by heaven official's blessings, no paths are bound. If we need to talk to you, let's do it in the array. Sure enough, XUAN could hear nothing after stuffing in the earplugs. One after the other, the 4 entered the array. All of a sudden, Sholian heard Huachang's voice calling softly next to his ear. Gaga, Gaga. 2 Gagas in a row like that. Huachang, you're so bold in this book. You're so bold. Sholian looked over and saw Huachang pointedly blinking at him. His lips weren't moving, but his voice was still resounding in his ear. Didn't you say you wanted to talk to me? You won't come to me, so I have no choice but to come to you. Sholian grinned. It's your fault for setting that as your password. Fine, my bad, Huachang acquiesced. Oh my god, what is this fucking password? XUAN adjusted the earplugs and saw the 2 of them staring at each other, smiling without saying a word. Your Highness, Crimson Rains of Flower, what are the 2 of you doing? He asked in the communication array, puzzled. Did you exchange verbal passwords? And now you're exchanging secrets? Sholian softly cleared his throat and deadpanned in the communication array. Nothing of the sort. Huachang raised his brows slightly and passed him another message. You liar. Sholian stumbled in his step. Looking straight ahead as he walked and keeping an equally straight face, he replied, Sundang, stop teasing me. I need your help with something. The 2 of them walked side by side, not looking at each other. What is it? Huachang asked. Work with me to test whether a certain someone is the Reverend of Empty Words. And that is the end of the chapter. And I'm guessing maybe Sholian wants to test. whether Ming-Yi is the Reverend of Empty Words, and I still don't think he is. I don't know though. Might be. But that is actually not like the first thing that's come to mind. Well, as I was reading the story about Scholar He, and, you know, I'm kind of taking Shulian's side in that, yeah, maybe this is a, well, Shulian actually had another theory. Like, first I thought that maybe this is like a victim of the Reverend of Empty Words. Shulian thinks that this is not just any old victim. He thinks this might be the origin, the patient zero, so to speak, of the Reverend of Empty Words. So this person might be the Reverend, according to this theory. However, that hinges on the story about the Scholar He being older than the first, you know, appearances of the Reverend, right? Which means even older than 1,000 years. But here's the thought I had before Shulian came up with his theory. I had a thought that I wanted to share, but I got too caught up in reading. It was really exciting. This person died. Scholar He died miserably and went out with a bang, or rather with a lot of chops and stabbings, I suppose. But anyway, like, super tragic end. Like, everything just went to shit. Whatever he tried to do, he just had terrible, terrible luck. And, you know, the state of his mind at the end of that must have been absolutely insane. And now they're celebrating this, you know, hundreds of years later at least, right? With all these, you know, fire socials and these parades. And I was thinking, as I was reading this, that it would be really interesting if this Scholar He was the origin of, say, a ghost. And maybe, you know, the level of shit he went through might be enough to make him a candidate for calamity even. What I am saying is, I wonder if... So what I was thinking originally was actually that maybe this could be the Blackwater origin story, but then Shulian had to come up with his little theory, which is that this is the Reverend of Empty Words origin story. So it's either or, right? It could be the Blackwater one, it could be the Reverend one. Another reason why I thought it would be fun if it is the Blackwater origin story is that Hua-Chang, knowing Blackwater, who has met the Reverend of Empty Words, would make sense if that happened. Look, I just want all my threading to be true, okay? I'm working on it. I am not opposed to changing stuff if I have to. But now Shulian has presented us with another idea, right? So those are our two options. Reverend of Empty Words backstory or Blackwater backstory. That's where I'm putting my money. Another point in Shulian's favor is that this story about the Scholar He does not in any way involve water. Like, where did the black water pot come from? So considering that, like, thematically, I think maybe Shulian is probably correct. Or there's like a secret third option that we do not know about yet. But these are the theories I'm kind of working on right now, that I've kind of like started sprouting around in my head. And again, I'm so hesitant to think that Ming-Yi is, you know, the Reverend or anything like that. But I still think his presence is really sus. And again, I can't pinpoint exactly why that is. Now for a new thing for me, I am going to stop reading now, but I am not going to stop this reading session, as in tomorrow when I'm done with work and I get home and I've had dinner, I'm gonna read some more. And then hopefully I will have gotten even further into volume 4 before I, you know, say, okay, video filmed, ready to start editing, you know? And also this is that will give me some time to think about this until tomorrow, and maybe I'll come back with some more pre-discussion notes before we jump into it. Yeah, this has been great. This was a good start. It's been a fun start, and I am super excited to continue. And I'll do it when I have some more energy and I'm not yawning and falling asleep. I think it's gonna be a better time for all of us, eh? Super excited to uncover more about all of this, and I'll be back for that tomorrow, or for you, in a second. Well, it's the next day. Don't worry, I haven't started without you. I was just rereading a few pieces of chapter 43, and again trying really hard to justify my own suspicion regarding the identity of the scholar her, and wondering if Shillian's reasoning is not, a little bit of a herring for us, because the moment we confirm what timeline we're working with and Shillian's theory is debunked, then suddenly the idea that the scholar her might be Blackwater becomes a lot more realistic, right? Like, if you're not being super investigative while reading, I think that's what they want you to think. Like you're just going along with the flow, aka Shirley's main theories. And now he has another one where he's asking YIII to work with me to test whether a certain someone is the reverend of empty words. A certain someone, like who exactly would you be suspecting? Aside from MING. I wonder if there's a twist here where YIII has somehow incriminated himself by doing something or another. But the most obvious answer is MING, right? And so that's where we're headed next. It's a little weird for me to start filming without even doing a pre-discussion, but we already did that last night. And now we are a couple of chapters into volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing, and we're about to add another. So grab your book and settle in. We are reading chapter 54. In the Temple of Wind and Water, Night chatter to discern truth. Okay, so we're going back to the Temple of Wind and Water for some reason. I mean, it is a very suspicious place, and the place where the Reverend dropped them off, if it was indeed the Reverend. So now we are trying to figure out something, that something probably being whether or not the Reverend is among them. Sandang, the game is afoot. YIII turned around upon hearing this, and his gaze fell on Shi Brothers and MING, who were strangling each other behind them. He gestured at the two. Him? Shillian nodded. How do you want to test this? YIII asked. I love the vagueness of this, we don't know who he was pointing at, and we're supposed to think MING, of course, but I think we're actually testing Shi Brothers. Why are they strangling each other? Isn't Shi Brothers literally wearing earplugs right now? How did we go from putting on earplugs to strangling MING? I feel like their relationship is even sillier than I thought initially. Many years ago, I encountered 2 venerables of empty words, and one even clung on to me for over half a year, Shillian replied. During that period, I tried worming information out of them and discovered a unique quirk they have. They didn't realize they were doing it, so they can be easily identified with just a bit of effort. Shillian then passed on the secret. Once YIII heard, he said, That's easy. Let's do it like this. Just as the pair finished their discussion, they arrived at the broken-down Temple of Wind and Water. The autumn air was slightly chilly, and the skies were dim. Shi Brothers searched all over for the head of his brother's divine statue and secured it back in place. He righted the 2 statues and placed them properly on the altar anew. Meanwhile, Shirley started a small campfire using rotten logs he collected from around the temple, and the 4 sat around the fire. Shi Brothers' ears remained plugged. He petulantly drank a few swigs from his wine jug, then he finally couldn't sit still anymore. And I mean, it was too much to ask, wasn't it? He is a character who moves around. We can't possibly sit around like this, just waiting for that thing to show up. Is there anything we can do for entertainment? He brought it up first, just as Shillian wanted. You already know your friend quite well. MING poked at the fire. You can still think of entertainment at a time like this? It's important, Shi Brothers spat. That thing wants me scared? Well, I am scared. This Windmaster will play as happily as he pleases, happier than ever before. It'll be like New Year's. I hope it dies from frustration. In the communication array, Shillian suggested. Why don't we roll some dice? Shi Brothers pulled a long face. Dice? Betting on whose roll will be lower or higher again? Your Highness. You're not addicted, are you? Oh my god. Well, maybe not that kind of dice rolling. What? No, Shirley-Ann denied. Never mind, there's nothing else around anyway. Dice it is. But there's 4 of us here. Won't things get a little confusing? It won't. Here, Shirley-Ann said. He opened his palm and revealed 2 small, exquisite dice. The 4 of us can split into 2 teams, Shirley-Ann explained. Sundong and I will be one team. My lords can be the other. We'll compete to see who has better luck. With 2 dice, each team gets 1 turn, and each person rolls 1 die. Then we add up the rolls of that turn. If a team's roll is bigger, they win. And they can ask any question that the losing team must answer, or they can have them do something instead. Oh my gosh. What is this? This is like spin the bottle for truth or dare. Is that what this is? We're using dice instead. It's like truth or dare. I have a question, Shi Brothers said. Go ahead, Shirley-Ann replied. Shi Brothers jiggled his leg impatiently as he spoke. Why are the 2 of you so naturally paired together? Did you take our feelings into consideration when you divided the teams? Yeah, guess you're in a bit of a scuffle. Shirley-Ann softly cleared his throat. Well, if you want to switch up teams, that's fine too. It makes no difference. Shi Brothers stuffed his whisk into the back collar of his outer robe. It's fine. I don't actually have any complaints about the team split, but Crimson Rains of Flower has such good luck. Won't my team be at a disadvantage? Shirley-Ann cheerfully smiled at him. That's not entirely true. Sundong might be extremely lucky, but my luck is extremely bad. With the 2 of us together, 1 good and 1 bad, won't we cancel each other out? That did make sense when Shi Brothers thought about it, so he smacked his thigh and exclaimed, Good, let's have at it. Then he elbowed Ming-Yi. Ming-Shong, did you hear the rules? Don't drag me down, alright? Don't drag me down. Ming-Yi gave him a look, and his callous voice came through the spiritual communication array. Forgive me, but I won't be joining you. Shi Brothers hastily backtracked. It's okay if you drag me down. Never mind. Come. Just play. It'd be too sad for me to be on a team all by myself. Thus, the 4 swore a simple oath to follow the rules and started playing. In the first round, Shi Brothers rolled a 5, Ming-Yi rolled a 4, Hua Chang rolled a 6, and Shirley-Ann rolled a 1. More or less as expected. They're just consistently going to roll 7s. Shi Brothers was overjoyed and dissolved into laughter. Your Highness, your luck really is bad. So bad. Shirley-Ann rubbed his forehead and said gently, Although what Lord Windmaster says is true, can you not say it with such glee? Fine, so our team won. This Windmaster will ask you 2 to do something, Shi Brothers said. Oh no. So, Your Highness and Crimson Rains of Flower, I order you to strip off each other's clothing. What is this? When did this become strip poker? What is going on? Shirley-Ann was first speechless, then alarmed. Lord Windmaster! Ming-Yi turned around with obvious disgust, and his hand covered his face like he wanted to shield himself from having to witness this terrible joke. Shi Brothers, on the other hand, was hollering. Come, don't be sore, losers. An esteemed heavenly official and an esteemed ghost king. You won't back out now, right? Your audience is seated, so please start the show. Oh my lord. And a lips reply from Shirley-Ann. Sometimes the silliness of the situation is just like... It really surprises me so much because I'm like so into like the plot and then stuff like this happens and I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of a comedic book, you know? And it has been from the start. It kind of like gives me a little whiplash every time. Shirley-Ann looked at Hua Chang and Hua Chang shrugged helplessly, mouthing the words, Gaga, it's not my fault. Feeling helpless as well, Shirley-Ann could only ask, how much do we strip? Oh my god. Shi Brothers was only playing around. He wasn't actually trying to embarrass them. He laughed and gleefully jiggled his legs. Just 1 layer is fine. Keep a few on for later. Oh my god, he has a plan. He has a plan. Like Shirley-Ann, you're not the only person who has something planned out for this game. This Windmaster has another agenda altogether. He actually wanted to keep this going. Shirley-Ann hesitated and secretly whispered into their private array. Sundong. Hua Chang's face showed no reaction, but his voice next to Shirley-Ann's ear comforted him, sounding earnest. Don't worry, didn't we agree to let them win a few rounds? They'll lose eventually. That was indeed something they had agreed upon, but Shilian hadn't expected Shi Qingxuan to play like this, and he felt like he was shooting himself in the foot. He reluctantly shuffled over to untie Hua Chang's belt, and it took him a while to remove Hua Chang's black outer robe to reveal the snow-white inner tunic. Oh my god. It's okay, Shilian, take it as practice for your married life. Hua Chang also helped him out of his outer robe, looking as calm as he always did. His hands were slow and gentle, and he carefully avoided touching any part of Shilian's body. The two of them only removed their outer robes. It was nothing extraordinary and nothing unseemly, but Shilian still felt extremely weird. Yeah, Shilian, I wonder why that is. I would also love to have a look inside Hua Chang's head at this very moment. After assuming a proper sitting position, he stammered, again. The second round, Shi Qingxuan rolled a 3, MING a 6. Hua Chang rolled a 6 once again, and Shilian still rolled a 1. Shi Qingxuan pounded the ground, laughing uproariously. Shilian looked to Hua Chang again and spoke through their private communication array. Sanlang! This was not what they had agreed on. Hua Chang apologized profusely. Sorry, I forgot. Don't be mad, Gug. It's my fault this time. Oh my fucking god. Did you get so caught up in the you know, this punishment that you forgot that this was your cue to start doing some luck things? This is too much. This is too much. You can't blame him too hard, Shilian. His head right now must be like sirens going off everywhere. Like he was also trying so hard to be respectful about this. Cut him some slack. Shi Qingxuan cheered once more, rolling up his sleeves. All right, this round I order you to stop. Shilian hurriedly cut in. Last round was a request. We did it and stripped. This round should be a question. Shi Qingxuan laughed heartily. Ask questions, that's fine too. Then here's my first question. Crimson Rain Salt Flower, to you. What's the worst suffering in the world? Oh no, I love how this like the truth part of this game is actually going to give us some insight into the characters. This is great. Good question, Qingxuan. Hua Chang's smile suddenly faded. Bad question, Qingxuan. Hua Chang's smile suddenly faded, and silence settled in the Temple of Wind and Water. Don't misunderstand, Shi Qingxuan added. I don't mean anything by it. I'm honestly just curious. Is there really anything that can cause pain to someone who's made it to the position of a ghost king like you, Crimson Rain Salt Flower? Maybe there isn't anything. Well, I can think of a few things. Oh, and we have art. We have art. Oh no. Oh my gosh. So we have. I love this. I love this art of Sanlang. Like his whole hair is pulled up in a bun. This is so cute. I love them changing hairstyles. So we've got Hualien up front doing the little rope thing. Ming Yi just looking away in the back, and Shi Qingxuan just having the time of their lives. Also noticing the statues that have been placed back in their rightful place, and then the curtain covering Shi Wudu's head. And I really do wonder if that isn't significant. I think, like, even the artist showing it, I wonder if that was, like, real foreshadowing. What do you think? Hua Chang asked back. Shi Qingxuan pondered for a moment before making his guess. The city of Gu at Mount Tonglu? The city of Gu, okay. Has this been mentioned before? I don't know if it has. It sounds familiar. It might be because Fugu is the city we're currently in, the town we're currently in. City of Gu. There were many who'd suggest that answer when they considered the question. However, Hua Chang only smiled faintly. That's nothing to fear. Shi Qingxuan was amazed. That's not it? Then what is it? Hua Chang's lips curled, but the curves soon disappeared. I'll tell you what it is, he said softly. Watching your beloved be trampled and ridiculed with your own eyes, and being unable to do a thing about it. You understand that you are nothing, that you can do nothing. That's the worst suffering in the world. Shilian's breathing stopped as he listened with rapt attention. Not a single soul spoke in the rundown temple of wind and water. XUAN couldn't think of anything to say for the longest time until he finally managed to squeeze out, "Oh, yeah. Oh, that's, yeah, that was heavy." So as a reader, following Arc 2, we know what this is about, but I just realized that XUAN does not. XUAN does not know what this is about. XUAN's breathing stopped as he listened with rapt attention. What are you thinking, XUAN? Do you have any suspicions now? Is this like the part where he gets suspicious? Mingyi's face remained sullen as he poked at the fire. "Continue." XUAN scratched his head and waved. "I'm done. Mingxiong, you ask something." Mingyi glanced up and stared at XUAN, which is super exciting and surprising to me. I can't believe he is addressing him. "Your Highness," XUAN snapped out of it. "What's the biggest regret of your life?" Mingyi asked. Mingyi was usually quiet and spoke little, but when he finally opened his mouth, he unexpectedly asked a question of such weight. XUAN was floored. Was it his disregard of advice and warnings, and his insistent and illegal descent to the mortal realm? Was it his hubris in thinking himself powerful enough to create rain for YIII? Was it his wishful thinking that he could save Shanle? Or was it his reluctance to kill certain people? He knew it was none of that. It took a moment for XUAN to answer. "My second ascension." Oh my god. We're getting somewhere. We're learning something. We did not witness the second ascension yet. This is new information. The other three in the temple looked at him, unspeaking. XUAN seemed lost in his thoughts, and it was a while before he came back to himself. "What is it? Everyone, I've answered the question." "It's nothing. Let's continue," Huachang said quietly. The third round, XUAN rolled a 2, Mingyi a 2, Huachang rolled a 6, and XUAN a 1. Seeing this, XUAN let out a huge sigh of relief. By the heaven officials' blessings, they'd finally won. It was now the other team's turn to be punished, but XUAN was eager and clearly afraid of nothing. "Come at me! Hit me with your best shot!" XUAN smiled. "Then I will. Lord Earthmaster, you first." He turned to Mingyi. "My lord, please answer the questions I'm about to ask properly. And please don't lie." Mingyi didn't say anything, and XUAN waved dismissively. "Don't worry, Mingxiong doesn't even know how to lie." XUAN grinned. "Very well. First question. Who am I?" XUAN was flabbergasted. Okay, so this is the test, I'm guessing, but also just noting, XUAN's blind trust and belief in Mingyi is really, really interesting to me, and I think, now that's probably a sign that he's going to have a pretty strong reaction when Mingyi does finally, trip up and we learn something about something he's done. That's probably not very good, right? Yeah, that blind trust is going to come back and bite us. XUAN was flabbergasted. "Your Highness, what kind of question is that? Aren't you? Who else could you be?" Mingyi slowly raised his head and met XUAN's eyes. "The Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Shanle, XUAN." XUAN nodded, then asked, "Second question, who's the one sitting next to me?" Mingyi paused briefly, then answered, "The Lord of Ghost City, Crimson Rainsword Flower." XUAN then asked, "The last question, who's the one sitting next to you?" XUAN was growing more and more puzzled. "Your Highness, what are you two playing at? Who am I? I'm the Windmaster." "Lord Earthmaster, please answer." XUAN pressed. This time, Mingyi didn't reply as quickly. Because he had run into Venerables of Empty Words on several occasions, XUAN had discovered a fascinating quirk of their kind. When Venerables of Empty Words spoke, at least one of every 3 sentences would be a lie. Oh, that is so interesting. This unique quirk could be compared to how a normal human being needs to drink water lest they die from dehydration. No matter how healthy or strong they are otherwise, it was an unchangeable truth regardless of one's ability. unless they ascended and left their humanity behind. The teleportation array had been drawn by Ming-Yi, and he was also the last one out the door. If meddling was afoot, he had the most chances to do it. Which is, my reasoning to begin with. I feel like it's too obvious when I say it like this, though. Of course, Shirlian suspected him from the start, but Shi Qingxuan was upset at the time, and if Shirlian voiced his suspicion, it would no doubt distress Shi Qingxuan even further. This would allow the Reverend of Empty Words to suck more negative emotions from him, fueling its own power. And so, at the time, Shirlian quickly came up with other possibilities, but he had never given up on the most straightforward one. The Windmaster and Earthmaster had a very good relationship, so it'd be impossible for the Windmaster not to notice if the Reverend of Empty Words was impersonating the Earthmaster. But what if the Reverend had covertly possessed Ming-Yi? Okay, so we're going the possession route? This is somehow new? Okay. This was why he'd wanted Huachang to work with him, to worm out Ming-Yi's words by way of an ordinary conversation. But Huachang had pointed out that it'd be unnatural for the two of them to try to rope Ming-Yi in like that, since they'd never really conversed in the past. Why not use the pretense of a game to create an opportunity? They could make Ming-Yi talk and see if they could observe anything of interest without the Windmaster or Earthmaster noticing. But Ming-Yi had always been a man of few words. Even in a high-energy atmosphere, he spoke sparingly. Shirlian paid close attention to everything he said earlier in the game, but it was all vague, nothing that could be pinned down as true or false. In the end, he had to use his trump card. He borrowed Huachang's power and secretly controlled the dice to make Ming-Yi lose. Presented with those three questions, Ming-Yi would have no choice but to answer on the spot. Because they were playing a game, Shi Qingxuan wouldn't realize anything was amiss. He would assume they were still joking around. Thus, the Reverend of Empty Words couldn't use the opportunity to sneak in and suck out his power. And should Ming-Yi answer wrong, Shirlian would seize him the moment he slipped. A creature like the Venerable of Empty Words would always lie within 3 sentences, and Shirlian had just asked 2 questions that Ming-Yi had answered honestly. If Ming-Yi was the Reverend of Empty Words, he would no doubt answer the last question with a lie. Should he choose, Ming-Yi could easily answer vaguely or pretend he was making a joke. However, he'd answered the first 2 questions simply and succinctly without any such tricks, so the last answer had to be the same. It would otherwise be out of character, which would also prove he was suspect. Okay, love that we're setting up this little trap, and the prey is in the trap. Let's see if he bites. Shirlian and Ming-Yi calmly stared at each other. A moment later, Ming-Yi finally spoke. His tone was no different from his last 2 answers. One of the 5 elemental masters, the younger brother of the water master Wudu, the Windmaster Qingxuan. Shi Qingxuan shook his head and sighed. Why the hell didn't you say my best friend? Because, according to Ming-Yi, that would have been a lie though. Well, that's interesting. So that debunks Shirlian's one theory that he is the Reverend. Unless the Reverend, in the end is just too powerful for this to be a quirk that the Reverend has to kind of respond to. We don't know that, but that was a huge setup for nothing in that case. Let's see what happens next. This might not be over. Okay, so Shi Qingxuan shook his head and sighed. Why the hell didn't you say my best friend? Ming-Yi glanced at him. Who's that? Shirlian silently blew out a breath. Although the Reverend of Empty Words was called Reverend, it wasn't a real man of the cloth with any holy spirituality. As long as it remained classified as a nefarious creature, it would never be able to escape the unique quirks of its kind. 3 sentences had been spoken, and all 3 were undoubtedly true. It seemed there was nothing amiss with Ming-Yi, unless Shi Wudu and Shi Qingxuan weren't real blood brothers. But such an unbelievably shocking turn of events shouldn't be possible. Okay, so is that what's going to happen though? Is that what this is? Well, no, come on. They were born to the same mother. They were the first and the second sons of that household. Unless we have really done a baby switcheroo for reals. We'll just have to see. Before he fully exhaled, Ming-Yi's hand shot out, grabbing straight for Shilian's throat. Shilian and Hua-Chang both moved to fend off his hand at the same time. 3 hands flew as fast as lightning, and the energy was so intense it made Shi Qingquan leap to his feet. What is going on? Ming-Shong, what are you doing? Ming-Yi glared at Shilian intently, his voice dark. You asked 3 questions, but in the last round I only asked 1. Shilian smiled. Lord Earthmaster, please think back on the rules carefully. I never said you could only ask 1 question per round. Very well, Ming-Yi said. Then I'll add to my question. Who are you? Didn't you already answer that question yourself? Shilian asked. Perhaps I answered wrong, Ming-Yi replied. If not, will His Highness please explain why he set up this game so suddenly, and his reason for asking such strange questions? Lord Ghost King is skilled in the art of luck manipulation, but it seems unnecessary to waste such talent on petty entertainment. Hua-Chang laughed. Well now, if I feel like it, I'll use it however I want. It must be understood that while Shilian and Hua-Chang saw Ming-Yi as suspicious, Ming-Yi thought them equally suspicious. From the moment Ming-Yi struck, they had been speaking aloud, rather than using the communication array. Shi Qingquan didn't know what they were arguing about, but he didn't dare move his earplugs so rashly, and could only attempt to intervene. Stop! I order you all to stop right now and tell me what happened, or else I'm gonna butt in too. He flashed open his Windmaster fan. Ming-Yi shoved him aside. Move! Stop adding to the trouble! Just then, a blast of sinister wind blew from out of nowhere. The flames of the small campfire they were gathered around quivered and danced wildly in the gust. Silhouettes and shadows twisted and contorted with the firelight, making the 2 divine statues on the altar appear extremely unsettling, smiling but not, crying but not. Ming-Yi pulled Shi Qingquan up. Something's here, he said, warily. He had shoved Shi Qingquan to the ground without a warning, and he had pulled him up just as quickly. Shi Qingquan was dizzy and seeing stars. Ming-Shong, can you please be nicer to me? No time, Ming-Yi said. Shilian had been watching the 2 statues and urged the others. Look at their eyes. The 4 looked over and saw that the smiling faces of the 2 divine statues were streaked with vivid red lines. Their clay eyes streamed bloody tears. So we're going back to the horror sort of elements again, but oh my gosh, I would love to see this scene as in like animated. I would love to see this in a different medium. This is so fun. Exciting, scary, but also so fun. Divine statues, which had been sanctified in ceremonies and worshipped by believers, possessed a certain power to deter evil. Even if said evil didn't completely retreat, the statues still typically couldn't be defiled by inhuman hands. The reverend of empty words was certainly powerful. Shi Qingquan was here in the flesh, yet it made the statue of the Windmaster weep bloody tears before the god himself. The tears of blood streamed thicker and heavier, dripping to the ground and gathering into a twisted, complex form. Shi Qingquan was bewildered. What is that thing? Is it drawing a picture? He couldn't figure out what shape was forming no matter how he looked at it. He didn't move closer, but he tried to look at it from various angles to discern the image. Oh no, you probably shouldn't be looking at this, Shi Qingquan. That is a communication as well. Shilian snapped out of his shock to realize that it wasn't a drawing, it was an upside-down word. Oh. Don't look, he barked. It's written for you. Ming-Yi struck out with his palm. Boom. The blood-streaked ground and 2 divine statues were blasted to pieces. Shi Qingquan's jaw dropped. Okay, so not only have you, like, defiled, or, split into the establishment plaque, which was pretty no. Now you've also blasted the divine statues to pieces. Oh my gosh. Ming-Yi. Ming-Shong, you can't let my brother know about this or he'll never forgive you. To destroy a heavenly official's divine statue was an act of extreme disrespect. And today, MING had snapped an establishment plaque in half, like I said, and then blasted 2 statues to bits. This was no different than crashing someone's restaurant, smashing their signage, and then soundly slapping the owner in the face. If this got out, specifically, if the person in question found out, they wouldn't sit back and do nothing. Who knew what kind of bloody storm would arise from it? My goodness, my goodness. As Julian idly turned his head, he noticed that the broken plaque they had set aside earlier in the day didn't seem quite right. The establishment plaque was painted blue and had proper golden characters spelling the words Temple of Wind and Water, but now the strokes of the characters were twisting into bloody red shapes that appeared to be the beginning of the word death. Oh my god. This is so horror movie-esque. Like, we have the tropes of the horror movie in the TGCF verse. It's interesting. In a flash, he covered Shi Qingquan's eyes and yelled in the communication array, "Close your eyes!" "What now?" Shi Qingquan shouted back. "Nothing. It's just that the words on your establishment plaque have changed. The creature knows you can't hear it, so it's trying to write," Julian explained. "Damn!" Shi Qingquan exclaimed. "If I can't let myself hear or see anything, then aren't I both blind and deaf and blind?" Julian dropped his hands. "Don't worry, just calm down. We're here for you." MING grabbed hold of Shi Qingquan's back collar and dragged him aside. Shi Qingquan still had his eyes closed, and he put his palms together as if in prayer. "How reassuring!" Just as he spoke, an enormously noisy commotion came from outside the run-down temple. Dark blurs darted across Julian's vision, and in the next moment there was a huge, rowdy crowd of people howling like devils and pouring inside like a pitch-black tide. Why are they going into the temple like this? Oh my lord. It was a mob populated by all kinds of bizarre forms and monstrous shapes, because these are the performers, right? Some had decapitated heads, some were hanged, some had large sabers piercing their skulls, and some had their bellies cut open. There were all sorts of violent curiosities. Shi Qingquan couldn't hear and couldn't see, but he could feel the disorderly chaos footsteps all around him. He was even pushed around in the ruckus. "What's going on?" he asked in the communication array, bewildered. "What's gone inside? Why are there so many people?" "It's nothing major," Julian said. "It's the night parade of the Bloody Fire Social. Let's just get out of here." In some places, Bloody Fire Socials would hold further entertainment well into the night after the day's parades had ended. Not only did the performers want to get their fill of scaring people, many common folks also had the urge to do the same, and so they would imitate the Bloody Fire Social's terrifying makeup and use the dark of night to head out and look for people to scare. Unfortunately, the 4 of them seemed to have run into such a group of night cruisers. The rowdy crowd of common folk didn't have the same level of realism in their makeup as the proper parade troopers, but they were nevertheless formidable due to sheer numbers and terrifyingly obscured by the darkness of the night. Quite a sight to behold. In towns that had such after-hour entertainment during Bloody Fire Socials, locals would lock up their homes tightly and stay indoors. These night cruisers had been wandering around for some time, and they were quite excited when they saw there were people inside the broken shrine, as if they'd spotted prey. Over 50 of them had charged in, overcrowding the small temple. The 4 of them were drowned in the pandemonium. Julian kept looking back, but he could only see YIII, who was still next to him and never more than 2 steps out of reach, of course. Love that, YIII. The other 2 were pushed several meters away. "Everyone, let's get outside now," he shouted. But while some of the night cruisers were purely there for fun, others were small-time merchants there specifically to scam petty change from tourists who had come to watch the Bloody Fire Social. They blocked them inside, not letting them leave, and began to pester and cajole them. "Young masters, give us a tip! We worked so hard to dress up. If you had fun tonight, then give us a tip. Yeah, it ain't easy, and this is only a once-a-year thing. If you don't tip us, watch out for the old ghost lord who'll come haunt you." Oh my god. That's actually very funny to say to YIII's face. But at the same time, I mean, this might be in reference to the scholar who might be, a ghost lord himself. This could be like a little bit of just a trickle of irony in that, right? I see you, MXDX, I see you. Since the whole affair had nothing to do with him, Hua-Chang only watched from the sidelines and wasn't the least bit anxious. When he heard them, he laughed out loud. I'd like to see what kind of ghost dares come knocking on my door. As Shillian swept a look over the crowd, he saw a pale-faced hanged ghost near the edge of the crowd. It was wrapping a rope around someone's neck while wearing an eerie grin. It was chaos all around. Everyone was covered in blood, their faces contorted, endlessly playing out games of you kill me, I kill you, now you're dead, now I'm dead. People were constantly howling and falling over. It was hard to differentiate the real from the fake, but Shillian's instincts told him that person wasn't right, and he threw out his arm. Roya flew forth and struck the hanged ghost squarely on the head. Sure enough, the hanged ghost wailed and turned into a wisp of black smoke, fleeing through a small crack in the ground. No one else noticed, but Shillian saw everything clearly. Everyone be careful! Something wicked is mixed in with the crowd, he warned in the communication array. There now seemed to be a faint ghost chi wafting within the Temple of Wind and Water. It wasn't from the Reverend of Empty Words, of course, but more likely some little minions that had snuck into the crowd at some point. When people play around and pretend to be ghosts, it doesn't take long to attract real ones. But for them to show up right now really was adding frost to snow. Frost to snow, fuel to fire. I like that. Frost to snow. There were too many people around and too much chaos in the temple. Heads knocked heads, feet stepped on feet, and it was too difficult to determine the exact source of the ghost's chi. Shillian grabbed Hua-Chang and ran out of the Temple of Wind and Water. He was about to ask after the others, but he found he couldn't. His spiritual power was almost depleted, and with no power, he couldn't enter the communication array. In that moment of urgency, he turned to Hua-Chang. Samlang, lend me a bit of spiritual power. I'll pay you back later. Of course, the promise of later payment was nonsense. He was never able to pay back any of the power he borrowed. All right, Hua-Chang said, then reached out to hold Shillian's hand. Yeah, we're not just touching, we're holding hands. That's so cute. I see you, Hua-Chang, I see you. Shillian felt a burst of warmth pass into his palm. At that moment, a few bloody individuals came rushing out of the temple in hot pursuit. The one straggling behind that group was dropping innards as he ran, and had skin that crawled with liver mortars. He also gave off a faint aura of ghost chi. Without thinking, Shillian shot a blast from his palm. A booming sound like an explosion was heard, and a blinding white light flashed. It took a while before Shillian realized what had happened. In the place where the ghost with the cut belly once stood, only a mound of black ash-like residue remained. As for the Temple of Wind and Water, the entire rooftop had been blown away. What just happened? What is going on? What? The rioting night cruisers in the temple had gone still, frozen in shock from the booming sound and blinding light. Ellipse reply. Even. Shillian raised his head to look at the Temple of Wind and Water, now missing its roof, then looked at his own hand. Finally, he slowly turned to look at Hua-Chang, who stood behind him. Hua-Chang smiled. Was that enough? Oh my god, did he shot off the roof? Are you for real? It was, Shillian said. Actually, really just a little bit would have been fine. That was a little bit, Hua-Chang assured him. Do you want more? You can have as much as you want. Oh my fucking god, that is... That's basically flirting. This is their kind of flirting. Shillian quickly shook his head. In the past, he had also borrowed spiritual power from Shi Qingxuan, Nanfang, and others. Nanfang mentioned, let's go. They lent very generously, but Shillian had never experienced a feeling like this, as if all the blood in his veins had turned into an electrical current that charged through his body. The powers he'd borrowed before had to be economized and saved, only one bite taken at a time for fear of wasting them. Right now, he felt like he could eat a full bowl and dump out 10 without a care. The power Hua-Chang had passed to him was too great. It filled his entire body to bursting. It was to the point where Shillian was almost afraid to move, scared that with just a wave of his hand, something else nearby would explode. Now that their surroundings were temporarily calm, he hurriedly entered the communication array. Oh my gosh. Well, that's fun. So we can power up Julian like a depleted battery, and just like he'll become Super Saiyan. This is so fun. So that's a secret weapon for later. Let's power up Julian so that he can wreck shit. Okay, so he hurriedly entered the communication array. Lord Windmaster, where are you? I left the temple, but I don't see you. Oh God, Shi Brothers groaned inside the communication array. Your Highness, why is your voice so loud all of a sudden? I left the Temple of Wind and Water too. Julian reined in his spiritual powers, then replied, Sorry, I'm having some trouble controlling this. How did you leave? Are you alright? After all, right now, Shi Brothers had his ears plugged and his eyes closed. How else could I have left? Ming pulled me out. Thank goodness I wasn't trampled to death by that crowd, Shi Brothers said. A moment later, Ming-Yi's voice also sounded in the spiritual communication array. However, his words froze the smile that was just beginning to form on Julian's face. That wasn't me, Ming-Yi said. It wasn't? Julian snapped his head around. Oh no. Lord Windmaster, just who was it that pulled you away? And that was the end of chapter 54 of Heaven Official's Blessing. And we just had our Windmaster kidnapped. Oh no! That means anything could happen going forward. Oh my god. So this is going terribly, isn't it? Yeah, I had a tea break and a biscuit break, and I'm just like, kind of, a little shocked that we lost Shi Brothers and somehow not that surprised. Because, he was not with Julian, he was with Ming-Yi. And, I'm sorry, you're not making your case any better, Ming-Yi. Oh my god. What do you mean? He literally, Ming-Yi grabbed Shi Brothers by the back of his neck, stuff, robes, or whatever, and was literally there holding on to him. What do you mean you just lost him? And you're not, immediately making sure that everyone knows. I know that Julian was not even in the array before just now, but in that blackout period, this happens. Coincidence? The case for Ming-Yi being up to things is pretty darn strong. And Qingxuan is just so blind on him. He's really, everything we've heard so far, every time Ming-Yi's character is up for discussion at all, he is so quick to defend him. He only has great things to say about him, even when he is being a little mean to him. And again, we're only seeing a little bit, we don't know how deep their relationship is and how long it's been going on for. But I am just saying, there are a lot of things are kind of shaky here. Because the impression we have as readers is that, yeah, they do all these things together. But if we're talking bad intent, I'm getting ahead of myself though. We still don't know what exactly has happened and to what capacity Ming-Yi is involved in this. But I'm just saying, this does not feel like something he's not involved in. This feels like he's fucking involved in some capacity, and it's making Shi Brothers hurt. So now we have Shi Brothers, apparently maybe with the Reverend. He is deaf, he is blind, as in he's closing his eyes, and now apparently pretty afraid, because he thinks he's with Ming-Yi, and he's not. So, I was gonna stop soon, but and the next chapter is quite long actually, but I kind of want to know what happened to Shi Brothers. I feel like we need to at least start the search for him. This would have been a good cliffhanger though. It's a good cliffhanger, but am I ready to stop? I don't think I am. And after all, I've only read one chapter today. What is another one? So let's do it. Let's get to it and read chapter 55. Fight the Reverend. Okay, so we're fighting the Reverend. It's appearing. Crown Prince takes the Windmaster's place. Oh my gosh, are you... This had better not be some sort of self-sacrificing BS, Sholian. However, Shi Brothers did not utter another sound. Sholian knew this was bad news. Lord Windmaster, what happened to you? Are you still there? What's going on? Why aren't you saying anything? If he had only been pulled away by rowdy night cruisers who were seeking a bit of fun, he wouldn't be so quiet all of a sudden. Had he already met with harm? But his anxiety was useless, since he didn't even know where the Windmaster was right now. The mob finally quieted down, and MING was able to push his way out of the Temple of Wind and Water. The Heavenly Realm had a decree to never use spiritual powers on mortals for selfish reasons, nor to appear before them at will. If mortals were harmed or their lives taken, demerits would be imposed. The decree certainly made things difficult for law-abiding heavenly officials. Otherwise, they would have sent those people flying like that roof with just a wave of their hand. The crowd finally snapped out of their shock and started screaming wildly. It's appeared! It really appeared! Monsters have come! With that, the crowd broke up and dispersed. Lord Earthmaster, Sholian asked anxiously. How come you didn't hold on to Lord Windmaster earlier? Have you seen him? When was he lost? Agreed. How come you didn't? Ghosts snuck in and were ambushing people in the middle of all the confusion, MING explained. It seemed that he'd seen there were lives on the line and diverted his attention to go save them. He'd fended off the ghost attack, but he lost a friend. Let's split up and search, Sholian said. He shouldn't have gone far. Suddenly, Shi Brothers' voice came over the communication array anew. He was laughing boisterously. The laughter was abrupt, but at least there was finally something. Lord Windmaster, what happened to you just now? Why did you stop talking all of a sudden? Sholian hurriedly asked. I thought something happened to you. How can anything happen to this Windmaster? I was only trying to scare you all. Mingsheng, you bastard, how dare you not grab hold of me? If I die, I'm definitely turning into a Supreme to come and haunt you. Oh my god. He's a little scared, I think. I think he might be, just a little bit. Is this going to come to fruition? Is Shi Brothers going to become the next Supreme? I'm going to... Stop your ha-haing, say something comprehensible, MING demanded. Sholian knew that the more anxious and frightened Shi Brothers was, the more he would ha-ha-ha. In fact, he'd even forgotten to pause between words. You didn't open your mouth to speak, did you? Sholian interrupted. Your face didn't show any obvious reaction. Have you fought back? I didn't speak. My expression didn't change. I haven't fought back, Shi Brothers answered. Oh dear, you scared silly. Sholian relaxed his tone into something gentler. Very good. Lord Windmaster, listen to me. Everything's all right, don't be scared. Keep on as you have and pretend you didn't notice anything. If you have anything to say, just say it secretly in the communication array. Absolutely do not let the creature notice that you know what it is. Secretly spread your divine aura to form a spiritual circle beneath your feet to protect yourself. That way you can at least ensure you won't trip or fall into a ditch. You'll be able to sense any incoming weapons too. Shi Brothers sounded like he was on the verge of tears. Okay. And then? And then take a deep breath, Sholian said. That's it, a couple of times. Do you feel a little better? His tone was very gentle and quite effective at reassuring people. Maybe a little bit, Shi Brothers said. Thanks, Your Highness. Sholian then tried probing. Now, how do you think you would feel if you tried open your eyes to sneak a peek at the creature pulling you along? Would he be able to handle it? I'd probably die, Shi Brothers said. Ellipse a reply, but this is serious now. So is it as MING said, though, that these are ghosts that have stuck in? Is this the Reverend? Because we have MING with us. We do have MING with us. So has he handed Shi Brothers off to the Reverend? Because there is one other option, and I hate that this option exists now. Because it, like I've talked about this before, but this can be used in so many situations to do these identity shenanigans. And I'm not sure if I enjoy the fact that this exists in this universe, but Thank you, Peisho, for introducing clones into our story. So that is something that could happen and could have been happening. Like, we could have a clone sort of situation. And I don't like this. And I really hope that that's not the case here. But if I'm going to continue to support my Ming-Yi theory, he's either handed it off or he's made a clone, right? Those are the two options for the Ming-Yi theory. It seemed that if Shi Qingxuan took so much as a glance, his terror would peak the moment he did, and he would turn into a most delicious meal for the Reverend of Empty Words. After that, he would probably lose any capacity for self-defense. Furthermore, if that thing was staring back at him the moment he opened his eyes, the esteemed Windmaster would probably foam at the mouth and crash like a fallen star. Yeah, I can see that happening. Why don't you just keep your eyes closed then? Shulian advised. What direction did it head in after it took you from the Temple of Wind and Water? Ming-Yi asked. They urgently needed Shi Qingxuan's location. Shi Qingxuan's eyes were closed and he couldn't see where he was going, but he could approximate his location based on his general bearing and a count of his steps. And yet, Shi Qingxuan replied, I don't know. You don't even know that? Shi Qingxuan was outraged. Who in their right mind would take note of something like that? And I thought it was you pulling me, didn't I? Huachang was still only observing the proceedings from the sidelines and was already bored to the point that he'd changed back into his red robes. Then he changed to black robes again. Then to white robes. Oh my god, he's just on the side, like switching through his wardrobe. What is going on? Almost every time Shulian looked back, he was spotting a new look, and with every new look, there were different hairstyles, different accessories, different boots, and so on. Sometimes playful, sometimes elegant, sometimes deadly, sometimes extravagant. Shulian was dazzled by all the colors, but he kept looking back, unable to keep his eyes off Huachang for long. Are you kidding me? Like, we're in a kidnapping situation, and, well, Huachang is, being Huachang, but, Shulian, you're so easily distracted. I can't believe this. The moment he realized what he was doing, he blinked hard, only just stopping himself from impulsively blurting out, "That outfit's not bad," or "That looks good." He said instead, Stop, now's not the time to argue. With every word, Lord Windmaster takes another step, and the farther he wanders, the harder he'll be to find. Shi Qingxuan moaned his grievance. Is it really that hard for you guys to find me? It hasn't been more than 50 or 60 steps, I think. It definitely can't be over 100. We're going super duper slow. Not over 100 steps? Ming-Yi swiftly charged to the end of the street and disappeared, then reappeared in an instant in front of the entrance of the Temple of Wind and Water. Not there! Curses! The teleportation array! Shulian cried. After the Reverend of Empty Words used the mayhem as cover to abduct the Windmaster from the Temple of Wind and Water, it probably cast the teleportation array and sent them both elsewhere. Otherwise, with a radius of only 100 steps to search, he should have been long since found. If the creature had used that spell, they could be anywhere in the world by now, and searching for the Windmaster would be like hunting for a needle in a haystack. Yeah, the slightly less romantic version of Season 2, Episode 6, and Huachang kidnapping Shulian in the array of butterflies. And I guess the communication array doesn't come with geo-tracking. They couldn't be careless in this affair, so Shulian immediately said, I will report to the upper court. However, Shi Qingxuan hastily stopped him. Wait, Your Highness, don't go. You promised to keep this a secret. My brother's third heavenly tribulation is coming soon. The third one is huge. He can't mess this up. You're going to die, Qingxuan. And I bet that he's gonna be involved anyway, and yeah. Heads might roll. Arms might roll. Legs might roll. This possible outcome is very depressive. So I'm gonna pretend that's not happening anymore. Keep this up and I'll make you go through a tribulation right this minute, Ming-Yi said. Shi Qingxuan was enraged. I said no, and I mean it. Do you have any idea how many eyes are watching my brother? That thing definitely timed this deliberately, but I won't let it have its way. Never. Even if I die in my bones rod, I'll only allow myself to be dug up after my brother's completed his trial. Oh my god, Shi Qingxuan. A moment later, Ming-Yi relented. Fine, very well. Sholian's intuition was sharp, and he sensed a suppressed fury in Ming Yi's tone. Such an intense emotion had never surfaced on him before, and it unsettled Sholian. Unwilling to allow any other problems to start, he cut in. Oh my gosh, okay, so we have this little moment of Ming Yi is actually angry, like to the point where Sholian notices. So what is this anger? What is this anger? Is he angry because he's actually worried? Like, I guess that's like your kind of, your first impression here. Especially if you kind of want him to be one of the good guys and think that the Reverend, you know, is acting alone here. Despite all the evidence that is contrary to this. But I wonder if his anger is more about things not going his way right now, because maybe that is it. Maybe that's part of the thing now, the plan now. Shi Qingxuan's family, because, you know, the brother was already targeted in that very first prediction he heard recently. You will never see your brother again, which didn't happen, but still, it's targeting his brother. And we know that the Reverend of Empty Words targets the whole family. And the Reverend would have reason to want to go after Shi Brothers, because in some sense, he is the reason why Shi Qingxuan escaped in the first place, right? His ascension and then bringing Shi Qingxuan up to heaven is what made Shi Qingxuan unavailable for the Reverend for however long. Hundreds of years, probably. So is the plan to lure out Shi Brothers to hit like both birds with one stone, you know? Because that's the vibe I'm currently getting. So anyway, Sholian doesn't want anything to start, so he cuts in. Lord Windmaster, is the creature still dragging you along? Yeah, Shi Qingxuan replied. It's gripping my arm right now. Is there anything notable about its body? Like a peculiar evil aura, or a certain smell or feel? Sholian asked. No, there's nothing. What about your surroundings? Is there a path under your feet, rough or smooth? Have you stepped on anything or hit anything? Sholian wanted to see if he could draw a general perimeter based on the surrounding environment. The path is very strange, Shi Qingxuan said. Very soft, very light. It's like I'm walking on clouds. A lipsy reply from Sholian, because he had no response but thought to himself, you're probably just weak in the knees from terror. Oh my god. 2 out of 5 of Shi Qingxuan's senses were already sealed. It was hard enough just to scrape together any clues, and they likely had no more coming. Although YIII was with them, bored stiff while watching the show, his tagging along was purely for his own entertainment. He had no attachment to Shi Qingxuan whatsoever, and as an entity of the ghost realm, he had no reason to help a heavenly official. Furthermore, Sholian didn't want to trouble him by always begging for his help, so he steadied himself and voiced his idea. Lord Windmaster, I have a plan that might help you escape from the creature in a flash, but I need your permission. Okay, I give you permission, Shi Qingxuan replied without hesitation. However, YIII suddenly stiffened. The soul-shifting spell. Oh my god, yeah, because the moment Sholian is going to involve himself, you know YIII is going to have a thing or two to say about this. Soul-shifting spell, are we talking jumping souls into another body? That's my first idea when I hear this word. What? Asked Shi Qingxuan. That's right, Sholian responded. The soul-shifting spell. The soul-shifting spell was exactly as its name indicated. It was a spell that let the caster swap souls to use one's eyes to gaze through another's. The spell wasn't used often, as it brutally burned spiritual power, and very few were willing to give up control of their bodies to begin with. YIII's expression grew serious. Gaga, caution. Oh my gosh, he is serious now, oh no. In other words, YIII is very aware of how dangerous the situation is, and he definitely does not want Sholian to get involved on that level. But Sholian is gonna. What are you gonna do if it looks at you? Shi Qingxuan asked. I'm not scared of it, so it doesn't matter, Sholian replied. Do it, Ming Yi said. YIII, however, pressed him again. Kaga, please reconsider. Oh my gosh, he is really serious about this. Suddenly, Shi Qingxuan said. It stopped moving. Hearing this, Sholian shouted in the communication array. There's no time to hesitate. Shi Qingxuan gritted his teeth. It's all up to you now, Your Highness. Okay, Shilian said. He closed his eyes as soon as the words left his mouth. All of a sudden, his body felt feather light, light enough that it seemed he was floating into the heavens. Then he abruptly became exceedingly heavy, heavy enough that it felt like he was going to plunge deep into the earth. The world whirled around him before his senses gradually returned. He steadied himself, but his eyes remained closed. He could not hear a single sound. There was a hand gripping his arm, and he was standing still. Here we go. Oh my god. Gonna just note down that Gugga from Hwachang, the desperate Gugga. Oh my god. Yeah, suddenly things were not going the way Hwachang had planned, because Shilian will find ways to put himself into dangerous situations wherever he goes. Shilian opened his eyes. One hand removed the earplugs, and the other twisted to seize the Reverend of Empty Words in a reverse hold. He smiled at the creature. Hi there. Oh my fucking god, that is so cool though. I love Shilian. I love Shilian. Shi Qingxuan's eyes had been closed for a long time, and it was pitch black all around them. Thus, when Shilian opened the eyes of Shi Qingxuan's body, he hadn't adjusted to the darkness and couldn't see a thing. Boring. I mean, sure, but I was excited to get a reveal here. But whatever had been grabbing him was now being grabbed by him. Roya wasn't here, so Shilian cast a locking spell to secure that hand like an iron cuff, preventing his creature from escaping with magic. Shi Qingxuan's voice came over the communication array. Your Highness, are you alright? If not, we'll switch back, and I'll take care of it by myself after all. Don't worry, Qingxuan, he has it handled. It seemed Shi Qingxuan had also safely switched to his body. Shilian had a firm grip on the Reverend of Empty Words, and he clobbered it with over 30 hard kicks in the span of a second. We're just beating it up now, physically. I can't believe this is happening. I mean, Shilian is a martial god, at least the first time around. Perhaps violence is the answer. He did say a martial god should deal with a reverend, well, a venerable of Empty Words, and here he is. I'm fine. Since their souls had only just been switched, they needed time to adjust. As soon as Shilian had gotten a chance to get used to this body, his moves would be even more brutal. Your Highness, let me tell you the incantation for manipulating my spiritual weapons. Use as much of my spiritual power as you need. Don't hold back. Shilian had no sword to wield, so he flashed open the Windmaster fan. I can't believe that we're Shilian Windmaster now. This is kind of fun. Okay, Shi Qingxuan then added. I'll also tell you the spell for transforming into a woman. I'm stronger in my female form. Oh my god, is this how we're getting females, Shilian? You're doing it through Windmaster? Shilian resolutely refused. No, that's not necessary. Gugga, hurry and take a look at your surroundings, Hwachang said gravely. Tell me where you are. Now you're getting involved. Oh my god, this is what we needed. Apparently, we need to bait Hwachang out of indifference. This is so convoluted, but I'm kind of enjoying it. No, MING said. First tell us what you're fighting right now. During their exchange, Shilian's eyes had adjusted to the dark environment. He squinted at the black shadow before him. However, even though the contours of the surrounding trees and branches could now be distinguished, he just couldn't make out the black shadow's face. It was as if there was a cloud of evil black mist swirling around its figure. The Windmaster's fan was a first-rate spiritual device. It could blow away evil and cleanse the world. After he received the incantation spell from Shi Qingxuan, Shilian recited it in his mind and swept the fan. A whirlwind blew up from the ground, rattling the surrounding woods, and even a few of the small, weaker sprouts were pulled from their roots entirely. It was undeniably powerful, but unfortunately the wind had veered a little off course and didn't hit the right target. It's okay, Shilian, you'll get it next time. You're not actually the Windmaster after all. Spiritual devices weren't easy to manipulate. He wasn't the master of the Windmaster fan, like I said, after all, and naturally couldn't handle it as smoothly as Shi Qingxuan. The proper angle and power were both difficult to grasp. It was either too strong or too weak, either off course or completely backward. After realizing this, Shilian gave up and changed tactics. He snapped the fan shut and used it as a blunt weapon instead. Oh my god. The Windmaster fan is feeling so indignant. It's never been used like this before. He snapped the fan shut and used it as a blunt weapon instead, furiously striking at the creature's weak points. He then opened the fan again with another snap. A sheen of spiritual aura generated on the edge of the fan, turning it into a razor-sharp steel blade. It slashed through the air, its glint chilling. XUAN probably figured out what he was doing and cried out despairingly. Your Highness, what's wrong with you? That's my spiritual device. I can't believe you're using it as a martial weapon. What a waste of a god's gift. This was a common flaw when it came to martial gods. Though he was otherwise occupied, XUAN spared a moment to say flatly, It's all the same, makes no difference. And then, Gaga! Hua Chang's tone was becoming harsher. Oh my god, oh no. This is actually serious. Hua Chang is getting he's worried. He's so worried. XUAN knew what he was pressing for, and as he fought, he rapidly scanned his surroundings. There was a picturesque natural scenery, as well as towers and pavilions. However, ultimately, nothing stood out that could indicate where he was. The Reverend of Empty Words noticed his movement and probably guessed his objective. You're not searching XUAN, it stated. XUAN never paused in his attacks, but his mind rapidly processed the comment. It shouldn't be this easy to guess that the soul-shifting spell is active. How did it determine I'm not searching XUAN so quickly? Well, whatever, keep going. Well, XUAN, it would be able to determine that if it happened to be connected to MING. Who knows that this happened? I am just saying. And we're brushing it off. We're saying, well, whatever, keep going. This is a hint, guys. This is a hint. The way he fought was completely inhumane. The Reverend of Empty Words seemed unable to take the beating anymore, so it spoke. He'll fall down this instant. Sure enough, it had started to direct curses at XUAN. However, it was like XUAN had heard nothing, and he only pummeled it harder. The Reverend of Empty Words then said, You're going to face defeat! XUAN laughed. I already faced defeat 800 years ago. A few more times means nothing to me. How much more can I be defeated? Just give up. Nothing you say to me will work. Oh my god. He's so cold. That's so cold. Gaga, Hua Chang called. If you can't determine where you are, just launch a whirlwind into the sky with the Windmaster fan, and I'll be able to locate you. Oh my gosh, he is completely desperate now. This might be more dangerous than I think at the moment if Hua Chang is acting like this, you know? What a coincidence. XUAN had just had the same thought. All right. Just as he was about to make the move, the Reverend of Empty Words let out a creepy chuckle. Someone's coming? For some reason, that alarmed XUAN. Sure enough, the creature hissed. Don't worry, the one coming to find you will die before your very eyes. XUAN couldn't laugh anymore. His heart dropped violently and his breathing hitched. The next second, he surprisingly yelled out loud. Shut up! In a flash, he landed more than 50 heavy kicks on the Reverend of Empty Words, each bashing directly on its head. Though it could barely speak under such an onslaught, it still sighed in deep satisfaction. Oh my god. Like it had partaken of some sacred gourmet delight. It then laughed coldly. XUAN had accidentally dropped his guard and let it taste what it wanted. And it was at the thought of Hua Chang dying. Are you for real? Oh my god. That's kind of peak romance, actually. Like, XUAN has had no issues with any Venerable of Empty Words. But now, at the mention of Hua Chang coming to harm, oh my lord. But XUAN hadn't the mind to notice, because what it said truly struck a terrible blow in his heart. Even if he knew Hua Chang couldn't die before his very eyes so easily as the creature said, and to be frank, Hua Chang was already dead. A deep, uncontrollable panic still manifested in him. He hadn't realized that he couldn't stand to even hear the idea. Although those in the communication array didn't notice anything amiss, it was as if Hua Chang had a sixth sense, and he grew audibly alarmed. Gaga, is it saying something to you? It's saying nonsense. No, it said nothing, Shilian replied. Huachang immediately understood and let out a curse. It's seeking its own death. Tell me right now, and I'll come straight to you. No need, don't come here, Shilian hastily said. Absolutely do not come. Tell me, Huachang urged. Sorry to interrupt, Shi Qingquan spoke up. The two of you really did secretly exchange verbal passwords, right? Your Highness, did you not notice? You're in the wrong array! The wrong array! Oh my god. It was only then that Shilian realized the problem. Ever since he used the soul-shifting spell, while every word Huachang said to him was passed through their private communication array, he had been so focused on fighting, and his heart was such a mess that he'd been responding in their group spiritual communication array by accident. Oh my god. I have to go back. What did he say? What did he say? Nothing incriminating, really. Just that, no, don't come here. Don't come. It's saying nonsense, speaking nonsense. And just like that, without Huachang's responses, right? Now the fact that they had connected in private communication was utterly exposed. Yeah, I guess that was kind of the reveal here, I suppose. However, this was no time to be embarrassed. It's nothing, Shilian said. Give me half an instant's time. I can take care of this thing. After that, he plugged his ears anew and focused only on dealing with the Reverend of Empty Words, unleashing even more brutal attacks. He had no idea that back in the town of Fugu, Huachang heard his reassurance, raised his hand, and struck Ming Yi. Ming Yi crashed a meter into the ground from the force of the blow. And then Huachang whirled around to address Shi Qingquan, who had taken over Shilian's body. Switch back! Oh my god, so this is what we're seeing kind of right now, but Shilian does not see this part, right? And why are you hitting Mingyi a meter into the ground? Unless you know something that we are not supposed to know, right? Oh my god, Huachang knows that Mingyi is up to shit. Come on. He knows that he is something. Working with the Reverend, is the Reverend, but like we're not. We're working on it, we're trying to figure it out, okay? Shi Qingquan had already planned on changing back, but after seeing that strike, he hurriedly said, Crimson Rainsod Flower, what are you doing? I'll switch back right now, His Highness is helping me. So it'd make more sense if you hit me, or why did you hit Mingxiong? Oh, because you're in Shilian's body, come on. But come on, it's not just to get his anger out. He is mad at Mingyi, come on. But the moment he spoke, he realized that he was currently in Shilian's body. Of course, Huachang wouldn't hit him. If he had to hit someone, his only choice was Mingyi. I feel like this is deflection, come on. Is it though? Am I reading into this too much? I might be reading into this too much. Oh, this is so frustrating. Back in the dark forest, Shilian's immersion in the fight was disrupted by Shi Qingquan hollering in the communication array. Your Highness, can you please plug my ears and run away? I'm switching back. Lord Windmaster, will you be able to handle it? Shilian asked. I can't fight it, but I can still flee from it, Shi Qingquan replied. Shilian gave the Reverend of Empty Words one final kick, sending it flying dozens of meters away. He turned around to make a run for it, but then he stopped. Wait, you don't need to flee. Let me set up a protection array for you. Lord Windmaster, do you have any protective spiritual devices on your person? If you don't, precious treasures will do. Hearing him, Shi Qingquan hastily replied, Treasure? I've got that. Feel around my neck. There's a longevity lock, which is a piece of jewelry crafted in the shape of an ancient lock, usually made of gold or silver. It is worn on a chain as a necklace. They are customarily given to newborns to dispel misfortune and therefore lock their lives. Okay. So they're like a good luck charm that you would give to a baby. And that probably has something, you know, I mean, it's been with him since he was a child. So this is, it ties in nicely with the story of the Reverend cursing him while he was a baby, while he was probably wearing this lock. Okay, so there's a longevity lock. Was that too? Shilian felt around, and sure enough, Shi Qingquan was wearing a longevity lock on a long golden chain. Its sheen was exquisite and opulent. Yes, this is a rare treasure. Excellent, he exclaimed in delight. Really? Shi Qingquan said. I've got plenty more. There's the jade belt around my waist, the agate Agate, that's the stone, right? The agate ring on my finger, some pearls on my boots, the sandalwood handle of my whisk, that's older than you. Oh, apparently the whisk's hairs are also rare, plucked from some spiritual beast. He rattled off 7 or 8 items in one breath, then concluded. In any case, Your Highness, just take a look and see if you can use anything on me. Ellipsy, reply. Yes, they could be used. They were all extremely rare treasures. That's why he replied with the ellipsy, oh my lord. Sholian was shocked, as expected, of the younger brother of the watermaster, the god of wealth. Oh my gosh, there's an art coming up, and I'm guessing this is after Sholian switches, because we have, like, it's a silly but cute one with Sanlang, I'm guessing, you know, holding on to Sholian's body and Mingy climbing out of the hole in the ground. Oh my lord. These will work, Sholian assured. I'll find a house nearby to set up an array. When you've switched back, keep the earplugs in and don't look outside. Stay in the house and don't go out. Wait until we come find you. Shi XUAN was about to break down in tears. Your Highness, you're just too reliable. Thank you. From today onward, you're my other best friend. The Windmaster will never forget you in any good endeavors. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. The other best friend. I mean, deserved, Sholian, you deserve this. So what did Ming do to get like, you know, the rank of best friend if this is not enough to outrank him? Sholian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That is the first laugh or cry of this volume, guys. Volume 4, first laugh or cry. So he responded politely, thank you. During their exchange, the Reverend of Empty Words was left in the dust. Glancing round, Sholian found a small pavilion nearby and hurried inside, then shut and locked all the doors and windows with a wave of his hand. He wrapped a golden longevity lock around the door latch, led out the other treasure's information, and bit his finger to draw an array with blood. All of these actions were done in quick succession, and once complete, he sat in the center of the room and closed his eyes. 1, 2, 3, soul-shifting spell, return! He felt violently hurled into the skies again, then plunged downward. After a wave of vertigo, Sholian once more felt his feet touch the ground. He swayed and very nearly fell over, but a pair of hands caught and supported him before he could. He heard Hua Chang's dark, grey voice when he opened his eyes. Gugga, I think you had better explain yourself. Sholian grabbed his arm to keep steady. Just as he was about to respond, he noticed someone was missing. Where's Lord Earthmaster? He asked. Don't know, Hua Chang said, dismissively. Sholian was taken aback. Don't know? Yeah, don't worry, Sholian, he's crawling out of that hole in a second. But that was kind of fun. The narrative doesn't really do that a lot. It jump into like parts of the story that Sholian is not there to witness or know about. It happens on occasion, and usually for comedic effect. This time, I think it was kind of important, though. Ming rose to his feet. We can't use the teleportation array anymore. We have to go on foot. What do you mean we can't use it? Sholian exclaimed. Someone has just destroyed all teleportation array connections points to the Terrace of Cascading Wine. No, all the connection points in this whole area. Terrace of Cascading Wine. That's a new name. I have so many new place names. Terrace of Cascading Wine. Interesting. Shi XUAN was brought to the Terrace of Cascading Wine via the teleportation array not long ago. It would appear that as soon as Shi XUAN hid himself inside the pavilion, the Reverend of Empty Words reacted. It had tampered with the points to intentionally slow the rest of them down. It was like their attempt to cross through a mountain range had been thwarted by their enemy destroying the passes. Now, no one could get close to the Terrace of Cascading Wine using the teleportation array. Oh, so like, in order to use an array, there must be like points in that area that receive you or send you off. That's super interesting as a mechanism, I guess. But how exactly do we know? Okay, we need to do this again. Did I just skip a page? I literally skipped a page. How did that happen? Let's go back. Oh my gosh. I was so into it. How did I skip a whole page? Okay, page 68. I'm so sorry. So, Shirley-Ann is wondering about where the Earthmaster is, and Hua-Chang is like, don't know. Then he looked to the side. There was a human-shaped crater on the ground, and Ming was slowly crawling out of that hole. Shirley-Ann was struck momentarily speechless. XUAN's voice came over the communication array. Huh? Shirley-Ann tensed. Has it come? Since he had had access to so many of XUAN's treasures to form an array, the defense of the house was impenetrable. The Reverend of Empty Words shouldn't be able to intrude so easily. Even if it was powerful, it would still take quite a bit of time. However, XUAN said, No, Your Highness, this array is impressive, steady as the mountains. It's really secure. I don't think anything could break in for the next 3 days and nights. It's just, I can't believe I'm here. Where? Do you recognize it? And this is how we know where we are, okay. Of course I recognize it, XUAN replied. This is the Terrace of Cascading Wine. It's where I ascended. The Terrace of Cascading Wine? Shirley-Ann blinked. Where XUAN ascended? XUAN seemed to have made a circuit of the room. That's right, he firmly concluded. I'm sure of it. I come back here every few decades to check up on it. No wonder the Reverend of Empty Words could tell he wasn't the real XUAN. If he were, he wouldn't have been so disoriented when scanning for nearby landmarks. He would have known they were near the Terrace of Cascading Wine with just one look. So is all my suspicions for naught, or is this again another herring swimming by? Like it's I think MXDX does this a lot. Like lays out the tracks for the real thing that we're looking for, and then comes up with like an explanation that is actually a red herring to pull you away from the real conclusion, and then the real conclusion is actually what ends up happening. And it's but I can't tell if that's what's happening now or if this is really the explanation. Like it's you never know. You can never know. She's keeping me guessing. After Ming crawled out of the hole, he squatted to the ground to start drawing an array, but after only drawing a few strokes, he raised his hand and blasted away the array entirely. Hua-Chang's eyes grew cold, and Shirley-Ann was startled. Lord Earthmaster, what are you doing? Ming rose to his feet. We can't use the teleportation array anymore. We have to go on foot. What do you mean we can't use it? Shirley-Ann exclaimed. Someone has just destroyed all teleportation array connection points near the Terrace of Cascading Wine. No, all the connection points in this whole area. XUAN was brought to the Terrace of Cascading Wine via the teleportation array not long ago. It would appear that as soon as XUAN hid himself in the pavilion, the Reverend of Empty Words reacted. It had tampered with all the points to intentionally slow the rest of them down. It was like their attempt to cross through a mountain range had been thwarted by their enemy destroying the passes. Now, no one could get to the Terrace of Cascading Wine using the teleportation array. If we leave now, how long will it take before we get there? Ming had already turned and set off. An hour! An hour? Okay, so at least not 3 days and nights, but that is still. Shirley-Ann called out to XUAN in the communication array. Lord Windmaster, we're headed to where you are. We'll be there within an hour. Just sit tight until we get there. If anyone or anything knocks, you absolutely must not open the door. Yes, that goes without saying, XUAN said. Even if you hadn't said it, I already know that. I'm not a toddler who'll open the door to anybody. So then, my lords, please hurry, okay? Fortunately, the town of Hugu and the Terrace of Cascading Wine weren't on opposite ends of the earth, but within an acceptable distance of each other. They could still make decent time if they hurried, so the three of them set off then and there. On the way, Shirley-Ann casually tested how much power he had left and discovered that the soul-shifting spell had indeed burned out his supply quite aggressively. Of the enormous flood Hua-Chang had poured into him, more than half was already spent. More than half, okay. Well, that's still a lot left then, apparently. Hua-Chang noticed his movements. Gaga, do you need more? Oh my god. Just making sure you don't want a refill of that Sunlong juice. Shirley-Ann hastily shook his head. No, really, Sandang, thank you ever so much for your generosity earlier. You're welcome, Hua Chang said. I already said you can take as much as you want. After a pause, he added, half-jokingly. But when Gugga pays me back, can I collect some interest? Oh my god. Squeak. Squeak. I'm so happy that we're messing around like this, like joking around like we have been ever since Volume 1, really. But this is now, it's so flirting. It's coded. Oh. This is Hua Chang flirting. He's really testing the waters. Shelian softly cleared his throat, thinking it was probably a question of whether he could pay anything back at all. But of course, he still put on a bold front. Yeah, sure. Oh my god. Shelian doesn't even consider that this is flirting. He's like, oh, well, I'll be lucky if I can pay back anything, actually. Although they had estimated the journey would take an hour, the three of them weren't mortal and it was a dire situation, so naturally they arrived sooner than expected. When they reached the Terrace of Cascading Wine, Shelian took a look around. Sure enough, it was the same place he'd seen before. They were surrounded by the chaotic mess created by his misuse of the Windmaster fan. It had refused his control and blown over trees and bushes. Shelian felt a little embarrassed by the sight. Your Highness, in which building did you set up the spiritual array? Do you remember? MING asked. Of course, Shelian remembered. And he was searching for it as well. Soon, his eyes lit up and he pointed. It's that small pavilion! The three headed toward the pavilion. The nearer they got, the more relaxed they became, as if they had finally seen a ray of hope. But when they were close, Shelian's pupils shrank. The doors to the small pavilion were open. They creaked eerily as they swung back and forth in the cold night air. And that was the end of the chapter 55. Mickey. Okay, I have thoughts. I have many thoughts. And my first immediate thought is that if MING is indeed using clones, this makes sense. Because if he just, changed his appearance back to himself and then came knocking on the door and he was himself, he was MING, he would know the password to Shi-Qingxuan's private array probably, or their own little array that they probably likely have, just making some reasoning here. So that is one way he could get access to him. But in general, he could show up as himself and easily convince Shi-Qingxuan that it's him. Which is my current theory on how that happened, because that was Shelian's array. It was really powerful. That's the confirmation we had. It was done really well, which means that those doors were opened by Shi-Qingxuan. So something must have convinced him to open the doors, right? Okay. But that was a super exciting beginning to have an Official's Blessing Volume 4. We are already deep in the plot with these three heavenly officials and our Ghost King, and yeah, it's going smoothly, isn't it? I am stopping every page to be like, I'm super suspicious of all of this, which could be a good sign, could be a bad sign. And we have left this town of Fugu now, and this Terrace of Cascading Wine, which is where Shi-Qingxuan ascended. And but why was he brought there to begin with? Is what I'm wondering. Yeah, he seems to be gone again, but why was he brought there to begin with? We are obviously not done with this area. And also, is there a coincidence in that this terrace, the place where Shi-Qingxuan ascended, is not very far away from the town of Fugu? They're super close by. I wonder if if the story about the scholar He is not about the Reverend of Empty Words and its origin story, if this is indeed Blackwater or someone else, I wonder if he is connected to Shi-Qingxuan in that they were actually in the same area at some point. Maybe without realizing it, Shi-Qingxuan has been involved in this story as well, in some form or another. Again, like I was theorizing yesterday, maybe Blackwater, or the scholar He, if he's, you know, his own character, is a result of the Reverend after Shi XUAN escaped from his grasp. The reason why all that tragedy happened to that person is because the Reverend had to do something after being starved for Shi XUAN, I guess. And that's kind of like my current theory there. I don't think Scholar He is about the Reverend itself. I think I'm gonna place my money on Scholar He either being his own character or even Blackwater sinking ships. Again, the fact that this story is about fire and not water is making me a bit like, maybe not. But the tragedy of the story makes me feel like, yeah, this sort of devastation could indeed maybe result in a ghost that could eventually become a devastation level ghost, a supreme calamity. But still, no water, so that's still just a theory with some holes already poked into it. Don't take that one too seriously. But I am super focused on MING. Why are you doing this, MING? What is going on? Why does the Earthmaster have such, like, suspicious, you know, involvements with a Ghost King and this other demonic creature? I really feel like this is, something. I'm not sure exactly what the something is, but I can't stop being suspicious about MING. Watch all of this be like the wrong thing to be suspicious about. MING is the red herring. Watch that happen and I'll be sitting here like eating my words. I'll be so embarrassed. Please, come on. I know I have reason to suspect MING. Even Hua-Chang and Shi Lian both have been suspecting MING. I'm not alone in this. But maybe I am suspecting him a little bit harder than our main characters are. But oh my gosh, there are so many new things that I can talk about for the next video. And I quite enjoyed getting to shoot over 2 days because I got to, you know, get a lot further than I thought I'd get on my first read. And at the same time, I got to bring more energy to both the sessions because I didn't, you know, have to push myself to stay awake for so long. So yeah, maybe this will be the way I shoot videos going forward. I'm also super tired. I came home, went to the shower, ate a little bit of food, and once my hair was dry, started doing this reading session. But it's great, it's been fun, and I'm happy that I could, like, easily find time to do it. So maybe this is how we're going to be doing it from now on. Okay, so key points from this read, which ended up being very long. The Scholar He and the Fire Social, its possible connections to the Reverend of Empty Words, the terrors of cascading wine and its connection to Shi XUAN, and then MING being very, very suspicious all the fucking time. And unlocking a new spell, we have Shi Lian using this soul-shifting spell, which is... I have thoughts about that, and I'll come back with more thoughts about this. Some of them are not very safe for work. But anyway, interesting addition to the story. I love that it has a cap in that it uses a lot of spiritual energy. Burns through it. This is not going to be the last time we see the soul-shifting spell, I hope. And also, we got to see Hua-Chang, like, properly worried. Like, he was, like, you know, scratching at things. And he did smash MING into the ground, Mahomet into the ground. He made a human creature with him. Amazing. Wonderful storytelling, 10 out of 10. He is also very talkative. And we have a total of 18 gagas in the first 60 pages of this book. 18! This volume 4 might actually end up becoming the Gaga book now. Our first laugh or cry, so our total laugh and cries for like all of TGCF so far is 16. And the volume 4 counts for ellipsis replies are 5 for Shi Lian and 3 for others, so it's still a very prevalent literary tool that MXTX uses a lot. I mean, look at the totals, it's a lot. So, I'm gonna go off, I'm gonna make some dinner, and I'm going to keep thinking about this really exciting development. And yeah, and tell you guys that I've officially started Volume 4 and we've bitten off a large chunk of it already. Can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts and what you guys have to say about the first few chapters of this volume. A lot of you have said it is your favorite, and I'm really enjoying the mystery of it. I hope I'll enjoy its conclusion as well. So this has been Amelia, aka Spaced Out Puffin, and I will see you in the next one.